This is a matchup Peter Cannellan and Larry Utek know all too well. In 1988, at the Vanier Cup, the St. Mary's Huskies and Calgary Dinosaurs met for the very first time. That day turned out to be all Calgary, as the Dinosaurs came away with their third Vanier Cup in 6 years. They didn't meet again until last year at the Atlantic Bowl in Halifax. St. Mary's ran away with it to take round 2 and set up today's rubber match that will decide who goes to the Vanier Cup next week in Toronto. The U of T Blues and Concordia Stingers battled the elements to get here, but they'll be nice and warm in the Dome today. It's semifinal Saturday, next on TSN. TSN presents CIAU football. Today, it's the national semifinals. First, from Halifax, the Atlantic Bowl featuring the Calgary Dinosaurs and the St. Mary's Huskies. And later today, the Churchill Bowl featuring the Concordia Stingers and the U of T Varsity Blues. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sky Dome and doubleheader Saturday here on TSN. I'm Gord Miller. Later on today, Jamie Bone and I will bring you the Churchill Bowl featuring the U of T Varsity Blues, who won the first Vanier Cup, and the Concordia Stingers, looking for their first appearance in the national championship. But up first, it's the Atlantic Bowl to decide the first entry in the Vanier Cup. It's the Calgary Dinosaurs and the St. Mary's Huskies. And for more on that game, let's go to Halifax and the men who will call the game, John Wells and Leif Patterson.
All right, Gord, a perfect day and a perfect matchup. It's the same as last year in the Atlantic Bowl. This year, the Calgary Dinosaurs are ranked number 3, and the St. Mary's Huskies number 1. I don't think we could have asked for anything more than this.
Well, John, I don't think there's anything sweeter for a team like Calgary to have lost here a year ago and get to come back and try and defeat the team that denied them from going to the Vanier Cup a year ago. Fun for the Calgary Dinosaurs.
Key for the St. Mary's on offense is quarterback David Sykes, who has had another outstanding season.
Well, I don't think it's any secret that the run-and-gun days of the St. Mary's offense are over. With David Sykes at quarterback, it's a much more structured offense, an equal blend between running and throwing. And by David's own admission, he doesn't have the strongest arms. So as he told me yesterday, gee, I hope tomorrow is a real calm day here, and it'll make me function much better as a quarterback. And he got his wish.
And here's a nice story. The sophomore running back, James McPherson, had 300 yards in offense in the league final last week.
Truly was a phenomenal performance for this second-year running back who had big shoes to fill when Sean Monge went down in preseason. And James McPherson has really come a long way. 721 yards throughout the regular season. And, you know, for a team that likes a well-balanced offense, I mean, they want to establish the throw today. I don't think it's any secret. Larry Utek said that. But to have a nice plan B with James McPherson isn't too bad either.
Peter Cannellan's Calgary Dinosaurs have a more mobile offense than they had a year ago.
Well, with John Kalan at quarterback, they get that mobility. Both John Kalan and Jason Aston have really split the quarterbacking time this year. But I think the intangible factor for the Calgary Dinosaurs this afternoon might be the running of John Kalan. Good thrower, but I think his running ability will get it done. And you double that with the fact that he starts at safety as well. It just shows you what kind of an athlete that he really is.
And watch out for number 8 wide receiver Mike Freiter, 557 yards and 6 touchdowns on the season for Calgary.
Yes, and he is Calgary's all-time leading receiver. He was their leading receiver on the season with 41 catches. Now, he didn't play last week against Alberta. He had pneumonia, if you can believe it, but he is out of sick bay. He's here today, and I don't think there's any question when there is a key situation, have to complete a key pass, John Kalan or Jason Aston will be going to their all-time great, Mike Freiter.
Having said all that, partner, it was defense the key to St. Mary's victory 1 year ago, and that might be the key for St. Mary's again today.
It's an interesting matchup. You know, St. Mary's can win with defense. They have so many all-stars back there. You look through the middle linebacker Alex Eliopoulos, the middle safety Trevor Burke. St. Mary's can win this game with defense. The same cannot be said for Calgary. As their head coach Peter Cannellan said, if our offense doesn't function, it will be very difficult for us to win this one.
The 1993 Atlantic Bowl coming right up on TSN. Number 1 ranked St. Mary's versus the University of Calgary Dinosaurs. St. Mary's University, and a perfect day for this with a southwest breeze gusting from 10 to 20 kilometers per hour. The artificial turf is damp, but it should not be a big factor here. Let's bring in the third member of our broadcast team, Alex J. Walling.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Leif. This is not a mere ordinary football game. This is the annual event of the year. Still in Atlantic Canada is the event that draws more people from one single game. They come from Clark's Harbor. They come from Corner Brook, Newfoundland. A lot of the alumni here certainly hoping for a St. Mary's victory. But they're from all of this park, making it indeed a unique Atlantic Bowl game. Now with the play-by-play, John and Leif.
All right, it's a pleasure to have Alex alongside this year. Again, and there's Larry Utek. Here again, a winner last year in the Atlantic Bowl.
The record he's had here at St. Mary's since he has been the head coach, it just seems like year after year they're at the top of the heap in the Atlantic Conference, and this year no exception.
He's in his 11th season with the University of St. Mary's Huskies. Former CFLer who had 3 All-Star nominations in 5 years in Canadian football. The University of Calgary Dinosaurs will receive the opening kickoff. The Dinosaurs didn't get the big plays to stay in the Atlantic Bowl 1 year ago, and Peter Connellan is hoping that they're going to get a few on offense and a few on defense to stay close to a well-rated Huskies team.
Well, I think it's really, as I said in the opening, a nice opportunity for Calgary to come back here to the same place that caused them so much agony 1 year ago and have an opportunity to defeat St. Mary's at home and make yet another trip to the Vanier Cup.
The Atlantic Bowl not quite underway. Dana Sagan's kickoff rolls out of bounds near the 20-yard line, so Sagan will do it one more time. Number 17 will handle the punting chores for St. Mary's this afternoon. Mark Della Riva will be the place kicker for St. Mary's. John Nickel is the head referee.
Procedure, number 88, White, free kick.
On our conversation with our old pal Larry Utek yesterday, he always indicated that he would like to give his opponent the wind in the first quarter because obviously not as many offensive plays are run in the opening quarter of play, and that is exactly what has happened here today. He doesn't mind giving the ball and the win to the opposing team, and he knows that the second quarter is usually a better offensive quarter, so he got his wish early.
This kickoff is just fine, taken by Chris Lewis. Number 37 for the Dinosaurs turns in a superb return, met by Daniel Bossett near the 45. And John Kalin will be at the controls to begin things for the Calgary Dinosaurs. 6 touchdowns on the season for Kalin. Make that 7 compared to 8 interceptions. Here's the way they'll line up with the running backs: Lewis and Evans, Freiter and Blair, the outside receivers, along with Buchanan and Ryan Williams.
And Ben Fairbrother and Ron Meyer, the offensive tackles, have their hands full. They'll be blocking against Noah Cantor and Tony Bailey. That could be a real factor this afternoon.
David Evans gets the first call. He's out to the 50-yard line on first down for the Calgary Dinosaurs. He's about halfway to a first down. Couple of solid guys up front for St. Mary's, and Bailey and Noah Cantor. They are conference all-stars and potential all-Canadians. The linebacking core: Marriott, Eliopoulos, and Purdy.
And a tremendously good secondary. Each one of those players you see very adept at man-to-man coverage. That allows St. Mary's to take a lot of chances with their front 7.
This is 2nd and 5 for the Dinosaurs. Kalin to the far side, and he's on target for Ryan Williams, number 24. Stopped by Eliopoulos, 44. A big first down for the Calgary Dinosaurs, who get a good start, something that didn't happen last year. A big 20-yard gain for Ryan Williams.
And a good start for John Kalin. Gets lots of time to throw his offensive line for him. A good pocket for him. And Ryan Williams does a nice job at finding the zone spot, soft spot in front of Andre Williams. And, if you're a Calgary Dinosaur fan, you have to like the way they've taken this opening kickoff and on 2 plays pick up their initial first down.
And they marched all the way down to the St. Mary's 40-yard line where it's first down. Kalin handing off to Lewis, and Lewis has about 4 yards. Met by Alex Eliopoulos one more time. Number 44, an all-Canadian, really the key to the St. Mary's defense.
Well, you look at any defense, and if you're going to have a tough defense, you have to be strong down the middle. It's almost the same in any sport, and that is certainly the case for the St. Mary's Huskies. Trevor Burke, the middle safety, Alex Eliopoulos, the middle linebacker, 2 leaders on that team. And you combine that with the bookends, Noah Cantor and Tony Bailey at the defensive ends, who funnel everybody up the middle into Eliopoulos. It becomes a pretty proficient defense.
79, Noah Cantor was shaken up on the previous play, but it looks like he will be back in action for St. Mary's. Looking back a year ago, that was the score: St. Mary's over the Calgary Dinosaurs.
And I think the score was actually flattering there for Calgary because they really were never in that ball game. The wind really took their whole passing game apart, and they just didn't have anything else.
As this game begins, weather is not a factor. The wind is just a light breeze. This is 2nd and 7. Calgary, as Kalen stands in and tried to hit Ryan Williams, number 24. Williams turned a little bit too late. So it'll be 3rd down and a bunch for the Calgary Dinosaurs.
But, John, it's what I said in the opening when we showed the lineups. It's those 5 defensive backs can play a very tight man-to-man. And number 21, Andre Williams, had terrific coverage that time on Ryan Williams. And you see at the 12-yard mark, he just steps up and jams the receiver. Absolutely no way that Kalen can get the ball into him. And I think as the day wears on, that will be a significant factor. How aggressive that St. Mary's defensive backfield can play the Calgary receivers.
Brian Walker is the injured player, number 27. He's the fastest member of that St. Mary's secondary. 6 interceptions on the season for Brian Walker.
Well, it's interesting, you know, you talk to the people down here in Halifax who are very familiar with the Atlantic Conference, and I don't think there's any doubt that the feeling is that the St. Mary's secondary, those 5 starters, probably the best secondary that's ever been put together in the Maritimes.
Let's bring in Alex J. Walling again.
John and Leaf, you're talking about defense. Earlier this week, Larry Utek said 1989, when he had Flynn and Schollard and Nealon, was his best offensive team. Make no bones, he said, this year is the best defensive complement that I have had, and I feel I've got 3 of the top 5 deep backs, the best in this country. They may be tested today.
Well, Alex, I couldn't disagree with anything you say. You know, you throw in a guy like David Houston. He's number 25. He was a starter in the backfield last year, and he couldn't make it this year. He's their nickel back, and of course, you know, if he comes in and has to play, they just have so much experience and depth on this team.
Calgary Dinosaurs will settle for a field goal try. That's Bruce Parsons,
and he's
2nd in the nation in scoring.
And he's got whatever wind at his back for this kick.
43-yard effort. Parsons is wide. And it'll roll for a single point, so the University of Calgary Dinosaurs move out in front on a wide field goal try by Bruce Parsons. 1-0 Dinosaurs. This is Atlantic Bowl. 3 cents of the word. David Sykes, the starting quarterback with 15 touchdowns on the season. He has been the key, and he has a couple of good running backs in Jamie McPherson and Ewan Walker. Sarty and Williams are the inside receivers, with Ash and Mesma outside.
I think one of the things that has made it easier for the St. Mary's offensive line this year is the fact that it's such a balanced attack. Teams that play St. Mary's don't just tee off and try and rush David Sykes. They have to respect the running ability of James McPherson, and that has made it a lot easier for the offensive line of St. Mary's this year.
Dinosaurs managed 1 point on their opening drive, and the Huskies will begin back at the 35-yard line of St. Mary's. Sarty and Ash, the outside receivers. Mike Messam and Anthony Williams begin inside. It is number 11, Charles Ash, to the near sidelines. And Sykes looking at 1st down and a solid Calgary defense on his first play of the afternoon. The call goes to McPherson, 300 yards last week, and there wasn't much for James McPherson there. He ran into Roger Reinson and Robbie Schroth.
You know, it's interesting, John. They ran right at number 34, the outside linebacker, Roger Reinson, the veteran. And it's funny, Larry Utek said, we feel we can run against Reinson. Later on in the afternoon, I had a meeting with Peter Canella from Calgary. I said, you think they can run at Reinson? He said, no, he's our best run linebacker. So funny the difference in philosophies between the 2 teams.
Sarty to the near side. The gain was 2, 2nd and 8. Sykes into heavy cover, and Anthony Williams makes the catch. He's short of the 1st down. Brian Baker made the tackle, and a solid crowd on hand at Huskies Stadium on the campus of St. Mary's University.
Well, Sykes completes his first ball, but it's a little short to Anthony Williams, and they come up about 1.5 yards short. And Larry Utek early in the game, not in a gambling mood.
Deep for Calgary, Mike Frieder, James Buchanan.
Dana Sagan standing at his 30-yard line on 3rd down, and a slight delay here.
Buchanan, number 25.
2 deep for the Calgary Dinosaurs. Frater and Buchanan.
Back to punt for the Huskies.
It's a wonderful afternoon for football, and yesterday it was rainy and cold as we watched these 2 teams work out on this very same field.
Well, I thought the arc was coming in yesterday afternoon, the way it was blowing down here, but this afternoon for the middle of November, I don't think you could have asked for a better afternoon than we were able to get here in Halifax.
It's actually the same story as last year.
Yep.
The day before the game, it was cold and miserable, but the sun shone on the University of St. Mary's. Ryder calls for it. He got one block and not much more than that. Stopped shy of the 30-yard line. Solid special teams coverage led by Dave Time for the St. Mary's Huskies. Alex?
Okay, Leaf and John, Dr. Susan Nathrick, the Director of Athletics. Doctor, we know about the athletes and the Atlantic Bowls, but I hear you want to make a comment on academics.
Well, I just think that over the years we keep thinking of football players or people in athletics as sort of the dumb jock, and that's not true. We have some very, very smart athletes. I think you have to be smart academically, or at least know how to work hard, to be able to combine athletics and academics at university.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Susan Nathrick again, the Athlete of the Year back in the early 80s for Canada.
Chris Lewis, a fine run, but he lost the ball. And it looks like St. Mary's has come up with it.
Well, I thought the whistle had blown as Chris Lewis went to the ground, and that's in fact what they will do. Calgary will keep the ball, but pretty solid hit coming from 10, Trevor Burke. That knocks the ball loose, but definitely the whistle had blown. And you know, to take Dr. Nathrick, I'm going to call her Susan because we're all friends.
Well, we knew her before she was a doctor.
That's right. You know, you talk about scholar athletes. David Sykes has been nominated by St. Mary's as a potential Rhodes Scholar. So I think that just multiplies her point.
On 2nd and 1, an easy conversion for the Calgary Dinosaurs to get the first down.
First down, Calgary.
Alex Eliopoulos in on the tackle one more time. St. Mary's University, founded in 1802. There are some 8,000 full-time students on campus here, the largest university in the Maritimes, and a very pleasant place to be.
Lovely place to do a football game. Nice stadium here, and Husky Stadium. Always have a great team to watch, too. Maybe that's one of the reasons why it's always full.
1st and 10, Dinosaurs out across the 40-yard line. Kalen stands in and looks deep. In behind the cover and almost. Ryan Williams in solid coverage by the all-conference all-star Trevor Burke. Ryan Williams was in behind Burke, but Burke got a hand on the football.
Well, he turned and located the ball just at the right time, and it looked as though just for a second that he might be in trouble, but Trevor Burke sticks up you're going to watch the right hand just sneaks back at the last second and goes up and knocks it away, and that's pretty heck of a play. Ryan Williams was in behind him. That doesn't happen too often to Burke, but he recovered nicely. Good play, though, by Kalen. You know, stretch out that defense early. I kind of like that. Even if you don't complete it, you do accomplish something.
2nd and 10, Kalen to his right. And a mix-up between quarterback and receiver. Kreider was the intended target, and Brian Walker was covering on him. I think they're St. Mary's guys. Kalen will come back in on the next play and be the safety for the Dinosaurs. Bruce Parsons on 3rd down, standing near his 30-yard line. High kick. Kent Gallagher, and not much running room as Gallagher is spun out by number 60, Chris Zaharko. A 3-yard return and a 34-yard punt. On the exchange, the St. Mary's Huskies pick up a little infield position, but there's a long way to go to the Dinosaurs' end zone. An interesting perch, no doubt. He is high above Huskies Stadium here, and that's where he likes to get an overview of the game. We'll likely see him on the sidelines a little bit later on in the game. Cannellan in his 11th season as the coach. Solid defense. Zaharko, Schmulin, Richards are key members up front of the linebacking core with Penner Nightingale and Roger Reinson.
And a secondary that is very aggressive coming up to play the run. And of course, what happens sometimes with these defensive backs is they are so aggressive you can sneak a little play action in behind them, and don't be surprised if you see on a future series St. Mary's go to that. You know, Calgary has to be thinking McPherson after 302 yards last week, and you have to think that St. Mary's might cross them up with a little fake and play action.
On 1st down, Ash takes the football, and he is swung out of bounds rather neatly by Robbie Sharath, number 22. 5 yards. Ash made the catch with no one around, but he was quickly surrounded.
Well, Brian Baker is the fastest player on the St. Mary's team, the defensive corner, but Charles Ash, without question, is the fastest offensive player, and to get the ball in his hands on the quick hitch is a pretty smart play on first down. Now, that's a pretty awesome play by Rob Schroth to keep him to only a 5-yard gain, but Ash is their big play guy. Only 11 catches on the season, but he is their speediest and most dangerous receiver deep.
Shotgun on 2nd and 5. McPherson, number 34. He lost the ball. This one is definitely loose, and the Dinosaurs have an opportunity. It was whistled down in a hurry as Chris Penner knocked it free, and Colin Newman, number 7, will get credit for the fumble recovery.
But John, we talked about the aggressiveness of the Calgary secondary, and it's going to be number 12, Dan Jeremiah, that comes up and sticks the shoulder into McPherson and knocks the ball loose, and the Calgary Dinosaurs get the first break of the game. Colin Newman had a chance to pick it up, but it's number 32, Brian Baker, who will finally make the recovery. So the first turnover goes to the Calgary Dinosaurs.
And turnovers were a big problem for the Dinosaurs last year. James Buchanan, the wide receiver near side, but the call goes to Chris Lewis, and Lewis is stopped by Noah Cantor after a 6-yard gain. Chris Lewis, 1 year ago this day, was starting in the Calgary City High School final. Here are the numbers on the Calgary receivers: Ryder, Buchanan, Williams, and Blair.
I think interesting to note here, John, all 4 receivers started a year ago here in the Atlantic Bowl.
Back to Chris Lewis. He is the only true freshman on this Dinosaur team. In his first game, he is just 18 years of age. In his first Atlantic Bowl, obviously, he started, or at least played in all games this year, started 3 others. Kalen on target, far side. Mike Freiter. Near the 45, Brian Walker, number 27, has been busy, and he was in on that tackle as well.
Oh, and I look at a young receiver, I like to see technically what kind of pass patterns can he run, and does he have any future pro potential. Mike Freiter is one of those guys that I think does have potential. Came back to the quarterback, and nice soft hands as he made that catch. And I don't think it's any secret if they're going to get a big play out of the receiving corps, I suspect it'll come from Mike Freiter.
The Dinosaurs at the Husky 44 with a first down. Calgary leading 1-0. David Evans, number 88. Used mainly as a fullback, as a couple. Eliopoulos, number 44, and Andre Williams, number 21, in on the tackle.
Well, to give him the ball more of a change of pace than anything else. Only had 24 carries on the season, only 2 catches, so he does not get to handle the football a lot. He's really the lead blocking back for Chris Lewis.
This is 2nd and 4 for the Dinosaurs. Buchanan near side. And Kalen looks in this direction. Buchanan makes the catch. He'll be short of the first down. Dwayne Provo, number 22, and Scott Purdy over to make the stop on James Buchanan.
Watch James Buchanan here. He's going to fight to the outside and then finally work back and find a nice little hole right there. And, you know, that's pretty tough. You got to work your way upfield quickly, take the bump, and then get back inside. And, you know, when they're sloughing off playing in a zone and a pretty soft man-to-man actually there, James Buchanan did a nice job to work back to the quarterback. And, you know, if they're going to come up and play bump and run on these Calgary receivers, sooner or later they got to go up over the top.
Buchanan managed to get the first down with a 7-yard gain. Good fake by Kalen. He stands in, gets pressure, and rolls out wide open down the sidelines. Did he stay in?
Oh, yeah, he's in. That's a spectacular catch.
Great catch by Don Blair, number 20, and he is inside the 5.
What you ask of your receiver when the quarterback is in trouble, start working around and find an open spot, and Don Blair does it to perfection. And looks as though they're going to bring this one back, but nevertheless, this is an outstanding catch. Watch how he high in the air, and he certainly keeps the feet in bounds. And that's a spectacular effort. Unfortunately, it will come back. That's a good throw by Kalen, too.
Take a close look here because they say he didn't remain with 1 foot in bounds.
Oh, no, there's no way. He was in bounds there. If that's what the call was, they blew it.
Peter Cannellan and part of his coaching staff. Yeah, that's the Sky Coaches box up there.
Yeah.
2nd and 10 Dinosaurs. Kalen looked for Blair on the other near side, and he didn't turn around quickly enough. The coverage by Andre Williams.
And you know, John, what Kalen was thinking there is, hey, I've run the hook on Andre Williams once before, and he came up and he jammed my receiver, Ryan Williams. This time they run Don Blair on the hook, but, you know, Kalen was thinking, hey, Williams made the play the last time. I better throw the ball a little sooner than I normally would, so he can't break it up. He threw it too soon, and Blair had no chance to catch it. But that's what the good jam coverage is going to do to a quarterback, and he got a little jumpy there and threw it before he should have.
Yeah, see Kalen on the sidelines putting on the safety gloves.
Great athlete.
Field goal try, Calgary. And Parsons is wide once more. This too for a single point. And Bruce Parsons is 0 for 2. The Dinosaurs have a 2-0 lead. The 32nd Atlantic Bowl from Husky Stadium at St. Mary's, and we'll be right back. And Alex J. Walling has provided us once more with an outstanding weather report today.
John, next to me is Bill Scollard. He holds the record for pass attempts and completions in the Vanier Cup. 1988, the year Chris Flynn got hurt. Bill no longer here, but it's certainly involved with the team. Your thoughts on the game?
Well, so far both defenses playing real strong. St. Mary's hasn't really had a chance to show what their offensive package is all about right now, but I'm sure as the game progresses we'll get a chance to really show what we've got.
Are you surprised that Calgary came out throwing so much so quickly?
Well, if they watch the film from last week, the Acadia, there was a lot of openings underneath in the Acadia game. St. Mary's was got beat up pretty bad in that area, so it looks like they've looked at that film and they're trying to attack that area. You're welcome.
All right, that's Bill Collard. Now to John and Leif. Gentlemen.
Thanks, here, Alex J. You know, I agree with Bill Scollard that Calgary is trying to throw underneath the coverage, but they're picking on the wrong guy. They've been going against Andre Williams, and he's been pretty tough on those 12-yard hooks.
David Sykes and the Huskies with a first down at the 35. Sykes comes to the near side, and this is a free one up for grabs, but Colin Newman couldn't make the interception. He'll think about that one all night long.
Well, John, you know, David Sykes is the first to admit he doesn't have the strongest arm, and this is into the wind. Not that it's a real tough win, but it's just enough of a win that this ball hangs up, and he doesn't have the arm strength to get it in behind. Mike Messam was open initially, but Colin Newman comes back from his corner, short corner spot, and he really should have had the interception here.
2nd and 10, Huskies trailing 2-0 to the University of Calgary Dinosaurs. And one final step on the road to the Vanier Cup. The winner plays in Skydome next Sunday. Sykes gets a little pressure, dumps it off. And Anthony Williams tried to one-hand that one and bring it in. He couldn't make the catch. So the Huskies into a punting situation once more. Dana Sagan will come onto the field.
3rd down, Huskies.
Boy, last year in their win over Calgary, this was the key play for them. They ran about 3 really successful screens, and I think that was really the story of the game. So a little deja vu for St. Mary's. They go back to the same play, but couldn't connect.
Sagan standing at his 20-yard line. Too deep for the Dinosaurs. Reiter calls for it. He gets one block, and there wasn't much after that. Alex Eliopoulos, number 44, leading the Husky tacklers once more. 6-yard return, a good 41-yard punt into the wind by Sagan. Yeah, this is the first half of a college doubleheader this afternoon. University of Toronto Blues and the Concordia Stingers coming up after we conclude in Halifax.
And John, personally, I am thrilled to see the U of T Blues back in contention for a Vanier Cup. A lot of tough going for them. Program almost dropped last year. The alumni got together, bailed it out, and it really has been a nice success story for Bob Lako and his club.
Calgary Dinosaurs on first down, and Chris Lewis gets the call. Chris Lewis had nowhere to go. 4 Huskies surrounded him almost immediately, and leading the way was Thomas Fleet, number 72.
It's going to be a tough front 7 for Calgary to try and really establish the run today. There's no question they're going to have to do it as a change of pace, but I think if they're going to have success against St. Mary's defense, it has to be through the air. You've got Noah Cantor, Thomas Walton, Thomas Fleet, and Tony Bailey, their front 4. I mean, that's a huge group. I mean, they are pro size, and with some quickness, it's going to be a very difficult group to block.
A loss of 1. This will be 2nd and 11. The Dinosaurs push back to the 39. Kalen on the move. He likes fakes to run, and this time he gets some room to the outside. Good block on Eliopoulos, and that'll be plenty for a first down. John Kalin's first run, and Williams over to finally make the tackle with a little help from Brian Walker.
I think this is the intangible quality for the Calgary offense today, is the running of John Kalin, and to try and just send Lewis off tackle and sweep all day, I don't think it'll work. But for Kalin to go on the sweep outside and pick up some yardage like that, I think that is going to be the secret weapon for Calgary to have success.
Yeah, pretty nice block there on Eliopoulos by number 24, Ryan Williams.
He got a piece of him. He could have destroyed him, but he got just a little piece of him.
It was effective enough for a first down for the Dinosaurs. Lewis dives ahead for a couple. Number 37, Chris Lewis, 48 carries, 255 yards in the season. And Sean Marion, number 45, was there on the tackle. John Kalin has moved the Dinosaurs, but he hasn't made it to the end zone so far. 3 for 8, 42 yards.
And I think really the low-scoring game is to the advantage of the St. Mary's Huskies. We talked about Larry Utek's club. They can win with defense alone, with their interceptions and turnovers that they create. They can win with special teams. So a low-scoring game, I think, plays into their hands. For Peter Cannellan, I think a higher-scoring game plays into his hands.
Peter Cannellan with a coaching record in the CIAU of 59 wins, 28 losses, and 1 tie. He also has 3 Vanier Cups to his credit. Dinosaurs lost 21-11 in the Atlantic Bowl in 1992. Eliopoulos shaken up, and that's a big blow for the Huskies if he can't get back into the lineup quickly. Tom Walton, number 62, is listed as a backup for Eliopoulos.
Go back and have a look at Alex Eliopoulos. That is a mouthful. And see if we can see what happened to him. He is right there in the middle of your screen, and kind of tough to see how he goes down and makes a good initial contact. And as so often happens, I think it's the people coming back in on the end of the pile that usually cause the injuries. He will be back. He's all right.
Yeah, 2nd and 7 for the Dinosaurs. Just across the Huskies' 50-yard line. Pressure, and they'll rule that as an incomplete pass. It slipped out of his hand. And some pressure by Tony Bailey, number 66.
Incomplete pass.
But Kalin looked like he was pumping, and it just rolled out of his hand.
Yeah, he gave it the double clutch there, and it kind of just slipped out of his hands.
So Bruce Parsons is in. His average on the season, 34.2. So he's right on average here so far. Standing back in the shadows at the 47. Just got it away. Bouncing. Burke couldn't handle it. And there's nowhere to run for Kent Gallagher, number 73. 2-yard return, 39-yard punts. And Parsons lucky to get that last one away, I'd say.
Well, John, you be the judge. 79, Noah Cantor comes in, and if this isn't roughing or contacting the kicker, I'm not sure what is. They don't touch the ball, and they go right into him, knock him down, and well, I'm kind of surprised that wasn't called.
1st and 10, Huskies from their own 12.
A couple of questionable calls here in the first quarter. A pass that was not allowed to Don Blair on the sidelines, and now possible roughing the kicker. It wasn't called.
On first down, Huskies begin deep in their own zone. And well short on that run by James McPherson. We talked about McPherson. 32 carries in the overtime win last week over Acadia for 302 yards.
That's about 3 weeks' work wrapped up into one game. I asked him, I said, now, how did you sleep that night? He said, very well.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
That's a lot of running.
Sardi to the near side as one wide receiver on 2nd down. Sykes has Sardi, and that'll be a big first down for the Huskies. He was hit but not dropped until he made it to the 35. Brady Stevenson 21 for the Calgary Dinosaurs, and that's the biggest offensive play of the day for the Huskies, 19 yards.
He's a great target at 6'5", and Colin Newman allows him to have the inside position, and he makes the catch. Watch the hit by Grady Stevenson right here. Sardi ends up going backwards, but hangs on to the football. And, you know, that's a big first down. When you look at the game of field position, it's only 2-0 for Calgary, but you want to at least get 1 or 2 first downs, get yourself out of deep in your own end.
That was the first down for the Huskies. Now out at the 35. Ash made the catch, and he was met immediately by Schrouth, number 22.
Brought down a gain of about 5 yards on the
Charles Ash, 270 yards receiving, 6 touchdowns in the year. He has 5 yards there.
Once again, a good first down call for St. Mary's. You know, he has the ability to break a tackle with his speed. A pretty easy pass to complete for David Sykes. And when you're working into the wind, a nice high percentage pass. And although Ash only gets 5 yards, you know, it's still a good positive play on first down. I think worthy of note, you mentioned his 6 touchdowns this year. It was done on only 11 reception. How's that for a touchdown to catch ratio?
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
2nd and 5. Huskies now at the 40. And they get a couple, but will come up a little bit short of the first down.
And to McPherson off tackle.
Look on the Dinosaurs. It's a tough front group to run against.
That's interesting. Both front sevens of the defenses here today are exceptionally tough against the run. And, you know, it's no secret. Whoever is going to win this game is going to win it through the air.
Back deep for Calgary. Number 8.
So James McPherson comes up a little short, and David Sykes heads to the sidelines for a conference with head coach Larry Utek. And Bill Robinson there, the offensive coordinator. The last time the Huskies won the Vanier, Bill Robinson was at the controls. That was 1973.
Yeah, he was a good one.
And in fact, the only time.
He was a good one, Billy Robinson was, with the Ottawa Rough Riders. The only trouble was when he was there, a couple of guys named Clements and Holloway came along.
Yeah, they came to town, and that kind of messed things up for Robinson. Freiter on the return gets away from one group of St. Mary's tacklers and sets Calgary up with great field position at the 50. Alex Eliopoulos is all right because he was in on the tackle.
From the St. Mary's 50.
27-yard punt and a 20-yard return.
And I think the real difference in this first quarter has been the field position of the two teams. It seems like every time Calgary begins a drive, it's out near midfield, and it's because of the good returns by guys like Mike Freiter. But it's only 21 seconds to go. I think St. Mary's would be very pleased with the way this first quarter is materialized.
Chris Lewis, number 37, is forced back. Walton was there, number 62.
The Huskies.
And Brian Walker moved up from his cornerback spot to help out on the tackle. Less than 2 yards to gain. They'll call it about 1 yard. 2nd and 9 coming up.
Gain of 1. 2nd and 9.
John Kalin sends James Buchanan to the near side along with Don Blair, the slot bag. And Kalin looks in this direction. Buchanan, it's a jump ball, and Buchanan comes up with it. James Buchanan. Dwayne Provo was covering number 22. That kind of hung up on him. But Buchanan stayed with the ball and made a big catch for a 31-yard gain.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I said earlier. John Kalin, if he's going to get bump and run coverage on the outside, he's got to go over the top of it. Now, this is not the prettiest pass you'll ever see, but the end result is very good on the closing play of the first quarter for Calgary. They make the catch, they get the big gain, and, you know, they challenge those two corners and say, look, you guys want to play tight? We're going to go over the top of you, and they complete the ball.
John Kalin has the best field position he's had all afternoon. That's the end of the opening quarter. It'll be first down, Dinosaurs. St. Mary's 2-0. Here are the numbers from the opening half, with the Dinosaurs having a distinct advantage. 7 first downs compared to 1 for the Huskies, and 124 net yards compared to 147.
Yeah,
47, I should say.
John, not that the wind was a real factor, but I think it did play a bit of a part in the numbers there. And, you know, the 7 first downs to 1, I think, are a direct reflection of the field position that the Dinosaurs had.
And good field position for Calgary here. Inside the 20 on first down. Lewis got the call, number 37. And he ran into Alex Eliopoulos and Sean Marriott, number 44 and 45. Lewis picks up 4. It'll be 2nd and 6. And some happy Husky fans on the far side. Dinosaurs are second down. Just inside the 15 at the 14-yard line. Good fake by Kalen, who takes off around the right side himself. Kalen is forced out, but he'll have the first down. Andre Williams put a pretty good hand on the quarterback. That's number 21, Andre Williams.
It is a first down for Calgary, first and goal.
Gain is 8. It'll be first down.
Yeah, nice play fake right here to freeze everybody, and then Kalen gets to the outside. He remembers the last time he rolled out, he had lots of running room, and you know the option is there that Freiter is deep in the end zone, so he can either throw or pass, and he makes the right choice here running the football. He takes a good shot from Andre Williams, but he does in fact pick up the first down and keep it going.
Okay, so you want to go drop the ball? Yeah, okay, but you want regular? Okay, but you want out of the regular, not smash, right? Okay, drop corner. Drop corner.
We're running at the run.
No, yeah, trap count, yes, you're running.
Yeah.
I think we got the play. Little inside information. Kalen talking on the sidelines and talking about a run play here. We're running it, he said, Coach.
Well,
we're running it.
You know, John, I think they found out where the success area may lie. The play action with Kalen getting to the outside definitely has been there every time they've attempted it.
First down inside the 10. Lewis has the touchdown.
Touchdown, Calgary,
Chris Lewis. And he got some good blocks up front behind Harold Anderson and Ron Meyer. 18-year-old Chris Lewis has a touchdown in the Atlantic Bowl.
They really capitalize on a well put together drive. It was the long pass to James Buchanan that really set it up, but you'll see Chris Lewis coming on the counter back across, and Harold Anderson, 61, gets the initial good block, and that's all Lewis needs to get it into the end zone with the first touchdown of the afternoon.
He had the perfect angle. Chris Lewis, in his third start for the University of Calgary Dinosaurs, Sean Latter was injured last week in the West Final against the University of Alberta Golden Bears.
I think what impresses me most about Chris Lewis so far, John, is just how hard he runs. He's 6 foot, 195 pounds, but that one step up to the inside seems to freeze everybody, and then he's able to outrun the entire defense to the outside and sneak into the end zone. But he did get some pretty solid blocking, good solid blocking up front from 61 Harold Anderson to get him around the corner.
Yeah, it is a terrific story, Chris Lewis, in a general studies program from back at the University of Calgary, a graduate of that great football school in Calgary, St. Francis. 8 carries for 32 yards and the touchdown for Chris Lewis. He is 18 years of age, and I mentioned earlier that 1 year ago this day he was involved in the Calgary City High School football final. So it's a long way from there to the Atlantic Bowl in one season.
Been quite a ride. Only 2 starts during the regular season, and now Atlantic Bowl start for him, and he gets the first touchdown. Very impressive drive. 5 plays, 50 yards. The key play in the drive was the 31-yard catch by James Buchanan. That set everything up. A good run by Kalen down to scoring position, and then Chris Lewis did the rest.
Ready for the kickoff from Bruce Parsons, with the Dinosaurs leading 9-0. Early in the second quarter at Huskies Stadium in Halifax. 22 players on the Dinosaurs. 13 starters were here 1 year ago, so there have been changes in Calgary. And from what we've seen in the opening half, the changes have been for the better, because the Dinosaurs were in a lot of trouble when they were in the Atlantic Bowl last year before finally losing it. Bouncing to Burke. Burke has some room to the near side. And not quite. Tried to tiptoe down the sidelines, but Izey forced him out.
John, I'd like to go back to that Chris Lewis touchdown just for a minute to show a great block by the right guard, Harold Anderson. You watch, they run the counter this way and then come back, but it's his block down the line. He will pick up the outside linebacker, Sean Marriott, and that is the key block for Chris Lewis to get to the outside. He fakes it with the one step upfield right there, and that sets it up for Anderson. But you have to give credit where credit's due, and you know that trap block by Harold Anderson was the key block to get the touchdown for Lewis.
Yeah, I thought you'd be promoting the center a little bit more already this afternoon. With your background, Halder Thorkelson. That has to be a Norwegian name.
Yeah, my countryman there, Thorkelson. He's a blocker, too. I mean, he's tough, this guy.
Sykes with a good fake on play action. And his receiver out of touch. Anthony Williams was the closest to the football, but there's a penalty marker down. I didn't see the infraction.
Well, after the play was over, number 65, the outside linebacker, Chris Penner, did a real stupid thing. He just absolutely drilled Anthony Williams right in the face and knocked him flat. No reason for it, but that's going to give St. Mary's an automatic first down with the roughing penalty. And, you know, when you've got a team down 9-0, you don't want to do stupid things to let them get back into the game easily.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 65, red. First down, white.
Well, not a smart play. You know, they've played a solid game so far, and we'll go back and have a look here. The play is long gone, and watch this. Well, you can't quite see it, but he drilled Williams for no reason at all.
First down, Huskies. Sykes on target. Good catch. What a fine catch by Anthony Williams, and he had tight coverage there. Williams in front of Baker, who made the tackle down at the 40.
The real veteran of this St. Mary's team, playing in his 5th Atlantic Bowl, is Anthony Williams. And he's the only member of this St. Mary's team that played against Calgary in the Vanier Cup in 1988. And he gets in the good inside position on Brian Walker. That was a good throw by David Sykes. So you see what a penalty can do. All of a sudden, it's generated and given St. Mary's a little bit of new life.
First down, Huskies at the 40. Markers are down as Ewan Walker got the call for the first time.
Well, the numbers look pretty good for David Sykes so far in a quarter and a half of football. 5 for 8, 62 yards, and I think he would have been happy with his first quarter, just coming out of it with a 2-0 deficit, and now it's his chance to play with the wind and, you know, air it out a little bit more, and he's in a pretty good spot.
Looks like the Dinosaurs offside. I said Ewan Walker carried. It was, in fact, James McPherson, number 34. 5-yard penalty against the Dinosaurs.
And all of a sudden, the Calgary Dinosaurs, who've played a flawless game up to this point, starting a couple of penalties, the unsportsmanlike, now the offside, and slowly they're letting St. Mary's get right back into this one. And of course, you know, what you always want to do is answer a score with a score of your own. St. Mary's in pretty good position to do so.
On first down at the 35, McPherson slashing off the right side. He's tough to bring down. Dan Jeremiah made the tackle on 1st and 5. Mike Nightingale also in on the stop.
John, I'm really surprised that St. Mary's hasn't used a little more play action here in the first half. And, you know, the reputation of James McPherson and his running ability, certainly Calgary knew about that. And kind of surprised that Larry Utek and Bill Robinson haven't faked it a little more and then gone to those intermediate routes with their inside slot backs, Williams and Mike Messam.
McPherson has been well under control by the Dinosaurs so far this afternoon. This is 2nd and a couple. Sykes mishandled the snap, and he got it back. So there's the break the Dinosaurs were looking for on this drive, and little doubt about what Mr. Utek plans here right now. You heard him.
I don't think it's any secret when you get two teams as evenly matched as these are, St. Mary's #1 and Calgary #3 in the country, mistakes will probably decide the outcome of this game. And, you know, that was a huge mistake for St. Mary's. You know, the numbers have been good for Sykes in the first half, but not a great deal of production. And, you know, they had a really good chance to take it in for a touchdown of their own, and, you know, mishandled snap cost them that opportunity.
Here's Mark Delariva, number 88, good on 5 of 6 last week, and he had a big decision to make last week against Acadia. He hadn't started all season. He was asked if he could start last week. He said he would, but he gave up a whole year of eligibility by starting that one game last week. He went 5 of 6 then, and he's good on 1 for 1 this afternoon. First score of the afternoon for the Huskies, and there's a little something to roar about in Halifax now as the Huskies are on the board. Atlantic Bowl 93, live from Halifax. Peter Connellan with his overview of Huskies Stadium. Prior to the game, Peter Connellan talked about his starting quarterback and starting safety, John Kalin.
Well, John's a 5th-year player who
is an outstanding athlete, and he's not just an athlete physically, but mentally as well. He works hard on the game of football. He's smart. He's probably one of the few players around that can do that kind of thing. So he's a player who's capable of making a big play, whether it's on offense or defense. And we look to him for that kind of thing sometime during the game.
He's made a couple already.
Yeah, John, I thought it was interesting that when John Kalin struggled throughout the year and Jason Assen, the other quarterback, got to play, that it was interesting that Kalin was such a good athlete. Peter Cannellan said, we've got to play him somewhere. And at that time, they were looking for a better player at their safety spot, so that's when he started playing safety. So interesting, although he wasn't functioning at times throughout the season as a quarterback, he was a contributor on the defensive side of things.
Here now Kalin and the Dinosaurs on first down. And the call goes to Chris Lewis, who has a touchdown already and substantial yardage on a good run there. Mark it down as 8, and the tackle made by Terry Buchanan.
You know, Chris Lewis is running with a lot of confidence, and you can just tell how hard he hits the hole. If you're tentative and not quite sure of what you're doing or sure of your abilities, you don't run nearly as hard as Chris Lewis is running this afternoon. And boy, have I ever been impressed with how he plays.
Kreider flanks to the near side. It is Buchanan to the far side of the field. This is 2nd and 2. And Lewis gets the call again. He looked to be stopped initially, but he may have the first down. Andre Williams moving up from his halfback spot to put the tackle on Chris Lewis.
And although he didn't make the play, Sean Marriott, the outside linebacker, got such quick penetration. There you see him right in the middle of your screen. It forced Lewis to cut it back a little sooner than he wanted to. And there was 21 Andre Williams with a solid hit. And he might have been able to keep him short of the first down.
Andre Williams has a twin brother on offense, Anthony Williams. They are identical twins playing their last game at Huskies Stadium today. Both gifted athletes, both very close to the same physical abilities, according to head coach Larry Utek. But Andre Williams is a little more aggressive in his personality.
That's why he plays defense.
Absolutely.
That's the way you got to play. Can't be passive and play
check
defense.
out that lid. That's kind of interesting. A couple of them there.
Fun
Must
place
have lost a bet.
Fun place for you and I to come, isn't it?
It is.
Our one game a year.
It's a great city and a wonderful atmosphere at St. Mary's University.
So Lewis did pick up the first down.
Dinosaurs now at the 45. Play action fake, and a good one by Kalin as he hits Buchanan. And Buchanan has another Dinosaur first down. James Buchanan. Eliopoulos over there to make the tackle, and so is Sean Marriott. Those linebackers have done a good job.
And in the passing game, Buchanan's been the story of the Calgary offense here in the first half, and technically excellent pass pattern. He runs his hook and he comes back to the quarterback, a good target for Kalin to see. And there you see Dwayne Provo, who's an excellent one-on-one guy. He really couldn't stay close to Buchanan, and it's because he kept that separation coming back to the quarterback. 3 catches already today for 51 yards for James Buchanan.
And a first down, Dinosaurs just shy of the 50. Penalty markers are down, and Lewis is as well. Number 37, Chris Lewis, in the grasp down there. There was not much running room.
No, it's funny, John. St. Mary's defense hasn't been kept off balance too many times this year. Their 7-1 record throughout the regular season, but I really feel like Calgary's done a good job of keeping that defensive front off balance today, mixing up the run and the play action passes, and then Kalin's running.
Holding, Calgary number 49, 1st and 20.
Uh-oh, that's your pal Thorkelson. Alder Thorkelson.
He got caught.
10-yard penalty. First down over and 20 yards to go.
Yeah, this is not a good situation now for Calgary. This isn't an explosive kind of offense, so 1st and 20 becomes a tough thing for John Kalin. What he has to think here is, okay, maybe 10 yards on first down, 10 yards on second down, but remember that he is working into whatever breeze there is.
1st and 20. Facing Kalin and the Dinosaurs, and a missed snap from center.
Fumble on the snap.
Dinosaurs do get it back, but that'll make it 2nd and 20. Calgary leading 9-3.
We have a late flag.
9:44 to go till halftime.
That seemed like Kalin wasn't ready for this snap. The center, Halder Thorkelson, rifles it up there. And, you know, Kalin's very lucky that he didn't break a finger for starters. And second of all, didn't lose the ball. But now it gets even worse for Calgary. And I think at this point in time, Kalen has to bite the bullet and say, hey, look, if they're taking it back even farther, it's going to be 1st and 30. Look, let's just not do anything foolish. We have a 9-3 lead. The worst thing that we do on this series now is bring Bruce Parsons into the game and kick it away.
Right now it is 2nd down. It was rough play called against the Dinosaurs. So it is 2nd and too many to count right here. And there aren't many options open to John Kalen. 2nd and 37.
Well, the option is don't take a chance.
Kalen looking deep, and he took the chance. The interception was made. The fumble is recovered by the Calgary Dinosaurs.
James Buchanan makes the fumble recovery. Talk about a break. You know, Kalen did the worst thing he could have done. Throw it long into coverage on a 2nd and horrible situation. And, boy, Dwayne Provo comes up with the interception. And is this a huge break for Calgary? A ball that should have never been thrown is picked off. And when you watch the hit by Don Blair, knocks it loose. And who comes in but 25, James Buchanan. Man, oh man, what a break that is.
On 2nd and 37, the Dinosaurs find a way to convert.
You know, if you're sitting on the bench and you're a Calgary Dinosaur, you just have to start thinking, hey, maybe this is our day today.
This could be the day.
Oh, when things like that happen for you.
A long way to go, however, and a big hole opens up for the Calgary Dinosaurs. Gene Stahl, number 39. Stahl listed as a backup. Trevor Burke, number 10, made the stop.
Well, Gene Stahl's a nice guy to bring in there at 6 feet, 200 pounds, and boy, did he hit that hole in a hurry.
Lewis, the ball carrier.
A 10-yard gain. Gene Stahl got his hands on the football one time this afternoon. Now they'll measure to make sure.
You know, we asked Peter Canellan to talk about his team. Larry Utek with great concern right there. His team just is kind of misfired here in the first half. But for Peter Canellan, we said, what's the difference from your team from a year ago? Basically the same team. He said, we're more consistent. And I don't think there's any question you see that in their first half offensive performance. You know, they've only scored 9 points, but from a consistency standpoint, they've been able to drive the ball. And, you know, when you can do that, certainly the points will take care of themselves down the road.
Yeah, that's an important word to a football coach, consistency.
Oh, it's top of the list.
Freiter to the near side, number 8. That means James Buchanan is flanked to the far side of the field. It is, in fact, a Dinosaur first down. Calgary inside the 30, and here's Kalen rolling to his right and flipping it out. Chris Lewis made the catch, and he's run out of bounds. Andre Williams was there, number 21. He's had a solid game, but he's been tested an awful lot.
On each time that John Kalen has gone to the rollout, play action to the rollout, it's been a hugely successful play. And Chris Lewis, an easy target out in front. He's going to pick up a first down. Takes a good hit from Andre Williams, but still an easy pass for Kalen to complete and keep a drive going. The Calgary Dinosaurs really have some true momentum after they caught that break, recovering the fumble on the interception.
Back-to-back first downs on 10-yard gains, and here's another completion. Ryan Williams, number 24.
Ryan Williams knocked out of bounds on the 2-yard line.
He's all the way to the 2. Trevor Burke forced him out to save the touchdown after a 15-yard gain.
And I think there should be some concern for Larry Utek right about now, because his defense, which has been aggressive all season long, all of a sudden is on their heels with a total array of plays that Calgary is running at them offensively. There you see Barbati cannot make the hit on Ryan Williams, and you know, these are easy balls to complete. They have the momentum, and it's a pretty good looking offense right now.
First and goal to go. And Lewis gets the call. He has the touchdown, his second of the day. 18-year-old Chris Lewis. 2 touchdowns all season long, and he has 2 in the Atlantic Bowl.
You know, it's interesting, John. Usually St. Mary's defense is what we call the hammer, and the other guys are the nail. But watch 10, Trevor Burke. Chris Lewis comes through there, and he delivers the blow on Burke and gets into the end zone. That hasn't happened to St. Mary's too often this year. That really shows you how hard a runner Chris Lewis is.
Chris Lewis is listed as a 6-footer, 196 pounds. He played in every game this season and had 3 starts. He has 2 touchdowns this afternoon. Parsons adds to the Calgary total, and the Dinosaurs have opened up a rather healthy lead at 16-3.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and show you what I'm really talking about. I don't think the players on the Calgary sidelines don't see this and who wins the battle of who's the most aggressive. And at this point in time, I think it's clear that Calgary is winning that battle here in the first half.
Winning number again on an orange ticket.
Another impressive scoring drive. Actually, throw in the recovery, so it's only a 4-play drive to cover 37 yards after Calgary faced a 2nd and 27 and then ended up with a turnover. Let's bring in Alex J.
Okay, I got Chris Lewis, and he said he basically just ran over tackle to be able to get through the guy. So straight off tackle, and he said he put it right through. Okay?
Alex, he put it through Trevor Burke, number 10. That's who he put it through. That was a pretty impressive couple-yard run.
Okay.
Ticket holder, please report to the Canada Post.
Bruce Parsons missed 2 field goals. That's not much of a story at this stage with the Dinosaurs in front 16-3 on St. Mary's. .803 till halftime. And the Huskies are due to get something going here at home. Gallagher. He has a little room down the near side and sets up the Huskies with decent field position at around the 35.
Well, we talked about Calgary really taking it to St. Mary's aggressively here in the first half, and I don't think there's a better example than Trevor Burke, who's the All-Canadian. I mean, this guy's known as a hitter. He's a good hitter. He's going to come and meet Lewis right in the hole, but you're going to see who wins this battle. It's Chris Lewis, number 37, at 195 pounds. He gets the lead block from Stahl and cuts it back in, but hey, there you see Burke. He just couldn't keep him out of the end zone. And you know, I said before, the players on the sidelines see this, and it really gets everybody charged up. Everybody else on that sidelines wants to go out and make a big hit.
Yeah, here's a big story. 193-75 in total offense. It's up to David Sykes to get something going now. And Sykes looks deep for Ash. He is off target by about 6 yards. Charles Ash, number 11.
Incomplete.
And Rob Schroth, the corner, did a very nice, subtle thing there. Just as Ash was going to break to the post, he gave him just a subtle little bump. And that was enough to slow him down. And, of course, Sykes in practice, you know, they time out this post pattern. He's ready to let it go. He knows the speed of Ash, but it was the little bump of the corner Schroth that threw the whole thing off. Little subtleties, a little game within a game. And that's the reason why Ash couldn't catch up with it.
Dinosaurs leading 16-3. 7:24 to go till halftime. Sykes shotgun on 2nd and 10. Sykes selects to get out of there, and he's close to a first down. In fact, he should have it. Roger Reinson up from his linebacking spot with help from Mike Nightingale. Sykes is not noted as a runner. Larry Utek telling us yesterday that he recruited Sykes as a kicker and found out that he was the quarterbacking replacement for Chris Flynn sometime after that. They're going to take a closer look at this one. Just enough.
Now, you talk about David Sykes as a quarterback and how smart he is in the decision-making process. I think he took a look at Calgary's linebackers right there and watch the deep drop they get. Very difficult to get a pass into one of his receivers, so he did the smart thing. Look, here's the hole right here in this whole area. He says, hey, I'm not the fastest guy in the field, but, well, I can get 10 yards out of this, and he's able to put his head down for the last few, but that's pretty heads-up play by David Sykes to recognize the defense and take advantage of it the best way he could, and that was with his running.
He only rushed for 125 yards on the season. That was a big play there on 2nd down, and this time he swings it out for McPherson. McPherson is nailed and forced out by Brian Baker.
Knocked out of bounds on the far side.
No gain for James McPherson.
Almost 1 yard.
Interesting play. They faked the counter to the slot back, and then a little swing pass to James McPherson, but 32 Brian Baker, the inside halfback, was right there to meet it. Only a 1-yard gain, and of course that's what we talked about earlier, John. The two inside halves, especially Dan Jeremiah and Brian Baker, are extremely aggressive in that defensive secondary, and boy, more often than not, they're able to come up and make those plays.
2nd and 10. Good fake. Ash, the intended receiver, he had it and dropped it. Charles Ash split two defenders, and I thought he could have made the catch. It was into his hands and out again.
Oh, and he makes a great move on Rob Schroth. The last time he ran the ball, watch the little fake right here, and then he goes up and he has Rob Schroth totally fooled, and there's the little fake there. He's wide open, but hey, he dropped it. Couldn't throw it any better. That's a perfect throw.
Oh, no. Charles Ash. And the Huskies will punt again. St. Mary's trailing 16-3 to the visiting Dinosaurs. 6:17 to go till halftime. Low snap, but handled okay by Sagan. This is Freiter on the return. One move to the outside, and there's not much out there. Reno Barbatti leading the tacklers. Penalty marker down on the sideline.
Well, Thomas Walton, 62, came in a little late, and you know, if a player's out of bounds, you have to know they're going to get called for roughing, and that'll be the case for St. Mary's. So Calgary will pick up an extra 15.
We take a break at Atlantic Bowl 93. Turn with good field position once more, just shy of midfield. And Calgary has had outstanding field position all afternoon. Let's bring in Alex J. Walling.
Not everyone in this partisan crowd is for St. Mary's. They got two of the Fraziers who live in Halifax, but take for Calgary. How come?
Well, our father's the president of UFC, so we don't have a lot of choice in the matter, AJ. Sorry about that.
Talk about the game.
Well, I think it's been a very entertaining ball game so far. Great day for football.
And you're cheering for Calgary.
Well, my father wants me to cheer for Calgary, but I had a tryout with St. Mary's, and Larry Utek has been very good to me over the years, so I'd have to say I'm just here to watch a good game.
Okay, there you have it again. From the Calgary bench with the Frasers, Alex J. Now back to Leaf and John.
Yeah, I think if your father's the president, you better be cheering for the guys in red today. Although the Fraser brothers are smart there. They're not wearing anything red, but deep inside, I'm sure they're obviously cheering for Calgary.
They're incognito.
Yeah, they are.
With Alex J. John Kalin got up 7 of 14 for 111 yards. One interception. And that's part of the reason that the Dinosaurs enjoy a 16-3 advantage on St. Mary's right now.
Yeah, and no question a big factor in the first half has been the field position for Calgary. I mean, not bad to start a drive on your own 53, and that's been the case the entire first half.
A little collision between quarterback and running back David Evans, and Terry Buchanan was quick to pounce on that. Come on, Red!
You know, John, you and I talked in the opening about the fact that St. Mary's could control the game defensively, and you know, I think at this point in time they're going to have to, because Kalen's on a pretty good roll, 7 of 14 over 100 yards, and he's done everything he pretty much has wanted to do offensively. So I think it's up to the St. Mary's defense to all of a sudden change up a little bit, try and create a turnover, upset the rhythm of Kalen, and get themselves back into this game.
2nd and 10. Kalen looking to the far side. It's up for a while, and Buchanan comes down with it. James Buchanan. Or hang on. I thought Buchanan made the reception, absolutely, but number 22 came away celebrating there. That's Dwayne Provo. All of a sudden he had the football and he was celebrating, but Buchanan gets the catch.
And he's made a couple of spectacular catches on long balls where he's been able to adjust to the football just a little bit better than Dwayne Provo. I think, keep in mind, Dwayne Provo was a volleyball player for 3 years at Dalhousie, and this is his first year, if you can believe it, of organized football. So to be starting on the corner is quite an accomplishment, but so far Buchanan is winning all the battles.
Yeah, he's the receiving star for the Dinosaurs, and this young man, Chris Lewis, is the rushing star. 37, has 2 touchdowns so far. Andre Williams, who's been involved in a lot of tackles, was in on that one again.
And although Lewis hasn't had huge numbers in the first half running the football, they have done it enough that they have really kept a good pass rushing front four totally off balance. So when Kalen has dropped back or gone to the rollout, the St. Mary's pass rush has been totally insignificant here in the first half, and truly the effect of Chris Lewis is 51 yards so far.
7-yard gain there. This is 2nd and 3. Dinosaurs. And Lewis goes the other way. And a counter play as Lewis has plenty for the first down. He is inside the 15. And Trevor Burke, the safety, had to make the tackle.
15-yard line. First down, Calgary.
We knew the Dinosaurs were a better football team coming into this game. I'm a little surprised at how much better they've been in the first half.
Well, I think they've just been a little more aggressive than St. Mary's. I don't think it's any secret they have out-hit the Huskies here in the first half, and I think that's one of the big reasons why they're ahead 16-3.
1st and 10. Calgary. Good fake by Kalen. He's looking to the goal line and one-timed it, bouncing it to Don Blair, number 20. Head coach Peter Cannellan has everything under control so far in the opening half.
Kalen on the bootleg, too, had Blair wide open. In fact, I think Blair was so wide open coming from the backside slot back that Kalen just simply underthrew it. Eased up on this throw because this was not a tough one to complete. Yes, Tony Bailey's hands were up in front of him, but I think that's one that John Kalen would tell you he'd like to have over.
He might have rushed that one just a little bit with his receiver apparently wide open. 2nd and 10. Kalen gets a bit of a rush, and he hasn't been forced to throw in a hurry much this afternoon. But that one intended for Mike Freiter is off target, and it'll be 3rd and 10, so the Dinosaurs will settle for a field goal try.
Now, once again, they took it at their own 53 and moved it efficiently down the field to set themselves up for a scoring opportunity, and that can't be said for St. Mary's offense this afternoon. So what might have been a question mark to the outcome of this game, could Calgary's offense function here this afternoon effectively against St. Mary's? I think you can see that they've done a nice job here in the first half, and Bruce Parsons gets a chance to add to their lead.
Freiter holding for Parsons at the 20. And Parsons makes that one good. It's 19-3. Calgary leading the St. Mary's Huskies. And the hometown Huskies haven't been able to put it together on offense so far this afternoon.
No, and defensively for St. Mary's, they've just given up too many big plays. James Buchanan's made a couple of key over-the-top catches against Dwayne Provo, and you know, they have looked solid. And if you're Larry Utek, yeah, you can win with defense here occasionally, but I don't think he better let this game get any more out of hand than it is right now with Calgary holding a 19-3 lead.
Yeah, it's time for David Sykes to go to work here and get some points on the board.
Well, he's
lots of time before the half.
Yeah, he's got a little over 3 minutes remaining, and I think it's imperative that they go into the locker room feeling a little better about themselves than they do right now.
Feeling better with this play. That's James McPherson, number 34. Mike Nightingale making the tackle after a 15-yard gain. Alex?
Okay, Mike Freiter with me. Mike, last year you were here. What's been the big difference?
I think confidence. Our confidence level has really increased. We really know what to expect here. We've been here. The crowd it's not a factor for us. Last year it may have been, and we're just coming out and playing our game.
Why are you moving the ball so well against the #1 defense maybe in the nation?
Well, we've moved the ball against defenses in the Western Conference. We believe that's a tougher task than perhaps today.
Mike, how do you see it in the second half? Can you maintain the momentum?
I think so. I think we have to. We have no choice. Granted, they're a great defense, and we can't give them anything, and we got to come out and keep on doing what we're doing.
Congratulations. Thank you. All right, Mike Freiter, now back to the broadcast booth.
Well, I think the best way that they can keep the momentum is to keep functioning on offense and keep the ball away from St. Mary's. That's been their greatest ally probably here in the first half.
From the Atlantic Bowl, we're live in Halifax at Husky Stadium, and the Dinosaurs in control at 19-3. Brief timeout. We'll be back after the 3 minutes of the stadium, but it makes for a wonderful afternoon, a very comfortable place to be watching a football game at this stage of November. Now the Huskies have to get rolling. 3 minutes to go till halftime. Sykes intended that for Steve Sardi. And Sardi got his mitts on the ball but couldn't bring it in.
I don't know if you'll remember back in the first quarter, Sardi ran that quick post and made the catch, but after he made the catch, Grady Stevenson was there with a pretty solid hit. Don't think Sardi wasn't thinking about that when he came in the middle there again. He went in, the ball was maybe catchable, but Grady Stevenson was waiting right for him with the helmet in the chest. Don't think that didn't influence Sardi's decision about how hard he was going to go for that ball.
Stevenson sent a message a little earlier in this ball game.
You bet you he did.
2nd and 10 Huskies. Reinson makes the play with some help from Schmooland.
Sykes brought down at the line of scrimmage.
Stay with us at halftime. We'll preview the Churchill Bowl coming up later this afternoon with Gord Miller and Jamie Bowen on TSN. John Kalin has had a wonderful day so far at quarterback and at safety. And Lee Pedersen has highlights, right?
There's a few of them. They're mostly Calgary at this point.
So far. 19-3, Dinosaurs have the lead. And the Huskies are forced to kick it away. Sagan standing back at his 35. Low snap, 1 bounce. Sagan behind it. Buchanan waits and lets it go for Freiter. He is brought down near the 35. Thomas Walton, 9-yard return, 33-yard punt. Now, imperative for the Huskies defense to get the ball back in a hurry.
Well, I think if you're John Kalin and the Calgary Dinosaurs right now, there's about 2:29 to go in the first half. You're, starting at your own 35-yard line. I think you have to think, hey, let's play it safe. We've got a nice lead. We really haven't done anything badly here in the first half. Let's, if the worst thing we do is maybe we don't make a first down, we kick it away and let our defense play, which has played so solidly here. But, you don't want to take a chance to give St. Mary's any kind of a lift as they go into the locker room.
Dinosaurs would be quite content to roll a few seconds off the clock. Kalin, far side, has Buchanan. And they call it a catch, and he's very close to a first down near the 35.
We have to be impressed with the calmness of Kalin today. Initially, he wanted to set up and throw quickly, but it wasn't there. And, that rollout, which has been so effective, he goes to it. Buchanan is a good target and almost picks up a first down, 9 yards. So the Calgary Dinos are really on a roll here. You go back and think that had they allowed that catch by Blair deep downfield in the first quarter where they only got a single point, this game might have been out of reach by now.
2nd and 1 and easily converted by Chris Lewis, who's having a pretty nice afternoon. Tony Bailey made the stop on Chris Lewis after a 4-yard gain.
And what Coach Peter Connellan really hoped would happen today has come true for his quarterback, John Kalin. A super first half, 9 of 18, almost 150 yards. And the one interception wasn't a factor because they were able to strip the ball loose and get it back. So it actually turned into a pretty long game.
Yeah, the one interception actually gave them a first down when they were facing a horrible situation of 2nd and 37. Lewis again, and he's grabbed by Andre Williams. When I say young Lewis, it is Chris Lewis, just 18 years of age.
As any good running back will tell you, a lot of times you're only as good as your lead blocking fullback, and you'll see number 88, David Evans, come right out here and take on Tony Bailey, the big defensive end, and that is really the key for Chris Lewis, as he gets that good block at the point of contact. Here it comes right there. Now cut inside, then back to the outside, and it only picks up about 3 or 4 yards, but that's a heck of a block by David Evans because that's a bit of a mismatch.
2nd and long. Kalin for Buchanan, and a good defensive play. Reno Barbetti, number 6, in to break it up, and Buchanan looked to be open on the far side. So just what the Huskies ordered, a big defensive play with 1:42 to go till halftime. They'll get the ball back and an opportunity thanks to Barbetti.
And even though that ball hung up a little bit, Buchanan did a nice job to come back and break it up. But the good news was Kalin saw the halfback blitz coming from Andre Williams, and he rolled to the right side away from all the pressure. So although they didn't complete it, Calgary is really doing a lot of things right here in the first half.
Back for the Huskies. Parsons punt, a short one. Burke took it on 1 bounce and draws a flag. Solid play by the Huskies, in good field position with which to work here into the final minute 30.
48-yard line, a flag in the play.
Maybe a little lucky, but it worked out well.
That's that's a good play. It's a play that a guy can make who plays with a lot of confidence, and that's the way Trevor Burke does it. Last week he had a 46-yard punt return for a touchdown, a big 84-yard kickoff return, and an interception to boot. So you know he is not lacking in the confidence department, and he can come up and make those kind of plays and give his offensive team great field position.
Coffee, sir. Murray the coffee man has dropped by.
Yeah, we need it.
He's got a truck. He's working the sidelines here. Have you got 70 cents? Solid field position for the Huskies with 1:34 to go. That's still halftime. McPherson. And a good hit put on McPherson by Rob Schroth, number 22.
Boy, there's a lot of things that impressed me about this Calgary team today, but I don't think anything more impressive than the aggressiveness of their defense and how they come up and support for the run. That time, their corner, Rob Schroth, 22, came up and makes the huge hit. Don't think those hits don't wear an offense down after a while. I mean, you can lose your interest in a hurry when play after play you're getting the tar knocked out of you.
McPherson limited to a gain of 1. Shotgun. Sykes standing in. And through the hands of his intended receiver, Anthony Williams. Roger Reinson is having an effect in that Calgary linebacking core.
Yeah, that's one of the favorite coverages of the Calgary Dinosaurs. Well, they'll run a linebacker with the inside slot back and play a couple of players deep in behind it. But, well, you have to have a linebacker with some serious speed like Roger Reinson has to allow him to cover a speedy slot back by Anthony Williams. But well, you can see there, you just don't do it any better than that. So, third down gamble.
Yeah, third and about 9 necessary for a first down. Just a little better than 8. 1:14 on the clock. Shotgun formation. David Sykes. Huskies need a big play here. Sykes has time. Sardi the target, and a solid defensive play. Tipped away by Colin Newman, number 7.
Sardi's going to complain of interference, but I don't think so. Colin Newman just had tremendous position, and you know, when he made the break out of his back pedal, he was right there, got the left hand in front. You're going to have a great look at it here. It almost looks as though half speed. Now you see Sardi stand up straight. That's when Newman makes his break. He knows when the receiver is standing up straight, he's not going any farther downfield. Watch the left hand right through it. Boy, defensively, the Dinosaurs have been absolutely solid as can be today.
Newman at 5'7", working against Sardi, who's 6'5".
John, that goes as a turnover, too. You know, and Calgary has a chance here with 1:09 to go to add to their already pretty big lead.
Not on that play. Well read by the Huskies defense. Terry Buchanan put the stop on Chris Lewis that time. 19-3, Calgary leading St. Mary's University.
There's Colin Newman.
Yeah, he should be celebrating.
Well, he had 6 interceptions on the year, the leader of the secondary of the Calgary Dinosaurs, and it really shows you why, because of his tremendous ability to break on the football when it was in the air.
Newman is a 4th-year management student at the University of Calgary, a graduate of a fine football program at Winston Churchill.
Well, Calgary ought to go into the locker room at halftime feeling pretty good about themselves. They've made the long trip down here to Halifax. They're playing, you know, in the morning what they're used to at home. You know, would have been, you know, it's 1 o'clock Eastern when we are Maritime time here when we began the game. That's only 11 at home for them, and their bodies have only been here for a couple of days, really haven't adjusted. So I think it's a tall order for these guys, but they've performed perfectly.
Here's the sharpness, though, Peter Cannellan. He practiced his team on Halifax time this week in Calgary. They were up practicing at McMahon Stadium at 7 a.m. Calgary time. So they were getting a little more accustomed to it. They had all their meetings scheduled around the Atlantic time difference that they were going to face out here. 19-3, the Dinosaurs have the lead. This is 2nd and 10. Time running out in the first half, and Kalen tries to get away. So far, he's eluded the pursuits, and he's finally dragged down from behind. Tony Bailey, former track star, finally ran him down. But it was a long, long run for Bailey and his partner Noah Cantor.
Yeah, and for the most part, Calgary's taken this crowd right out of the game, but on that occasion, they certainly had something to cheer about. The true speed of number 66, Tony Bailey. Cantor misses right here, but Bailey takes a good angle and comes up with the sack. Now, the good news for Calgary is Kalen didn't take any chances. He's got the big lead, so why do that? The good news for St. Mary's, they get the big sack, and, you know, they have a decision to make. Can they go after and try and block this punter? There's still 54 seconds remaining, and with Parsons kicking into the wind, you know, Trevor Burke is going to have a really good opportunity to give Sykes some nice field position to try and get a score before the half comes to a close.
And Burke turned in a fine return the last time he got the ball. They're standing just about midfield for this return.
Yeah, Trevor Burke's one kick returner that's not going to let that ball bounce. So if Parsons gets a mediocre kickoff, I'm sure you'll see Burke once again take it on the fly.
And 4 deep in protection for the Dinosaurs here to try and avoid the block. It is not a big kick. Here's Burke. What a great catch. He's inside the 30. Gene Stahl made the tackle, but there's the guy who made the play. An all-conference all-star, Trevor Burke.
Well, you have to like the way he handles himself on the field, and that is an awful kick by Parsons that normally most returners would let bounce around. But look, Burke takes it on the fly with great soft hands, and what he has done is given David Sykes a starting drive on Calgary's 29-yard line. That's an unbelievable play.
A 16-yard punt, an 11-yard return. It's all set up by Trevor Burke. The Huskies into the final 46 seconds now with a first down at the 29. Sykes handing out to McPherson, and he finds a bit of a hole. He's to the 25. James McPherson stopped by Roger Reinson. McPherson 300 yards against Acadia last week in the conference final. He has not had that kind of success today against Calgary. 8 for 33. Shotgun on 2nd and 6. Sykes stands in, and it's knocked away. Dan Jeremiah, number 12. Sarty was the intended receiver.
And really this afternoon, John, the difference between the two receiving corps that I have seen is Calgary's receivers work back to the quarterback a lot better than Larry Utek's receivers. That time Mike Messam, who's a young player and still learning, just stopped his pattern on the hook, and that allowed Jeremiah, number 12, to close the gap, get through, and knock the ball away. But, you know, in time, Messam will learn that once you get your separation, you have to try and keep that separation. As a young receiver, he just isn't doing that very well yet.
Dalariva is in. He's had a 1,000% day so far, 1 for 1, and he's very definitely within range here.
And they really need this kick. That was a heck of a play by Trevor Burke, and, you know, Dalariva needs to make this kick.
No doubt about it. Mark Dalariva, and if the name sounds familiar to football fans from coast to coast, it should. Father Peter played a few outstanding seasons for the Montreal Alouettes.
Yeah, he sure did. Great guy. And his son, 5 of 6 last week, and now good on a pair this afternoon, and they close the gap to 19-6. And so that good punt return by Trevor Burke, actually the heads-up play just to catch it, results in 3 points for Larry Utek's St. Mary's Huskies, and that little 3 points is a ray of hope for them.
As you mentioned, a very important 3 at this stage of things. Well, 19-6. Heading to the half, 27 seconds until halftime. John Kalin has the Calgary Dinosaurs in a comfortable lead. And Chris Lewis gets the call once more. No wonder he's had a fine day. Lewis ran into Heliopolis. And halftime coming up. A Churchill Bowl preview with Gordon Jamie, John Kalin, the inside story on the Dinosaurs quarterback, and first half highlights with Leif Pedersen.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to feature James Buchanan in one of them at least.
I think so. He's wearing 25, isn't he?
Yes, he is, and he's made a couple of key over-the-top catches for the Calgary Dinosaurs so far here in the first half.
This time it's Freiter, number 8, to the near side on 2nd and 5. Dinosaurs at the 50. Should be the last play of the opening half. Loose ball, Chris Lewis lost the ball, but it appears that time has run out. And boy, that could have been rather interesting for the Huskies. They retained possession on the fumble, but time had run out on the play.
So for Larry Utek, St. Mary's Huskies, they have not been behind in too many ball games at halftime this year, and they trail the Calgary Dinosaurs 19-6. I think for Larry Utek, what he will say to his club at halftime is, hey, you guys are a much more aggressive team than you've shown here in the first half, and you've got to come out and be a lot more aggressive if you want to win this football game. Well, let's go down to Alex.
St. Mary's, and let's bring in our Maritime pal, Alex J.
Okay, just talked to John Kalin running off the field, and he said basically we learned a lot from last year's experience. Some of the other players said that they came in last year and decided to have lobster and celebrate. This year, no way, no lobster. The game is more important. We'll do the celebrating if we win afterwards. A much more business-like, assiduous attitude on behalf of this Calgary team. Leaf and John.
No lobster for Dinosaurs until this one is on. Larry Utek knows what the challenge is ahead for he and his St. Mary's Huskies.
Well, you saw Bill Robinson to Larry Utek's left. He is the offensive coordinator, and you know, not a great deal of things went right for St. Mary's. They didn't have super field position in the first half, but for David Sykes, you know, I'm just shocked, John, that they haven't gone to more play action and try and take advantage of the aggressiveness of Calgary's secondary. Guys like Dan Jeremiah and Brian Baker, the two inside halfbacks, you know, you've got to run some play action, suck those guys up close, and then go in over the top with like the 12 to 15-yard passes. St. Mary's has refused to do that in the first half, and quite honestly, I'm very, very surprised.
Larry Utek, 11 years as the head coach of the St. Mary's Huskies. Another outstanding season, 6 conference titles for Utek, and he talks about what went right in the 1993 season.
Well, you know, we started with some great expectations. We had a lot of returners and a lot of seniors, and so we thought we'd go a long way, and we were really setting our sights on getting back to the championship again. But we were quickly slapped in the face by Acadia in the first opening game of the season. And then we had 2 tough games with Mount Allison and St. FX, which we were lucky to win in the next 2 weeks. I think that did a lot to bring our guys back down to earth and mature them. We had, after that, 5 really good games and then a tight one last week against Acadia, which further brought us down to reality and reminded us of the fact that we have to play hard football to win.
Reality should have set in last week when they needed overtime to get by Acadia after dominating the Atlantic Conference all season. You wouldn't have thought that it would take so long for the Huskies to really get involved in this football game.
Well, last week, you know, they saw Acadia come back with 15 points in the final quarter to tie it up and put it into overtime. And although Larry Utek said, you know, he kind of liked that because it gave the game drama and that they really felt like they won something from Acadia. I don't really buy that. I mean, you know, I'd kind of like to win the games a little easier than taking a team to overtime that really, you know, is not as good as yours. But I think they've been in a funk ever since that overtime here in the first half, and they're going to have to play a lot better here if they expect to go back to a Vanier Cup.
Gallagher gets set to return for St. Mary's, and the second half is underway. Gallagher is hit right at the 35-yard line. And nailed there by Gene Stahl, number 39. Still decent field position for the Huskies. And for quarterback David Sykes, who has to get them rolling here and now.
Oh, I must mention about David Sykes. Last year, he was the 1992 Russ Jackson Award winner, and that award is given to a player who combines athletic ability, scholarly ability, and just involvement with the community. He was the recipient, and when he gave his acceptance speech last year in Toronto, I got to tell you, everybody had a tear in their eye. This is one outstanding individual. He's a good athlete, but as a person, he is unbelievable.
And he's the St. Mary's University nominee for Rhodes Scholar. Here is James McPherson. Better running for McPherson to start the second half as number 34 is nailed and caught with a face mask. So we will have a penalty coming up here. Roger Reinson in on the tackle.
Well, there's Tony Bailey. He got the sack right before the end of the first half, and he and his defensive mates are going to have to come up with some pretty significant plays here. And, you know, St. Mary's hadn't had too many breaks throughout the first half, but on the opening play of the third quarter, McPherson is tackled. They get the face masking penalty and a nice little break. Excellent field position. One play, they're inside Calgary's territory. So, you know, if luck is on their side, they get to maybe get a few breaks. There's 65, Chris Penner with the face masking call.
That's Chris Penner. And that sets the Huskies up at the Calgary 52. McPherson Stopped by Mike Nightingale, the middle linebacker for the Dinosaurs. The gain is 7. And the Huskies on a bit of a roll to get the second half underway.
That's an interesting call. It's the old crossbuck, and what you try and do when the back goes here, you try and influence the middle linebacker Nightingale, which they did. They got the influence, and McPherson got some pretty solid yardage. There you see 44. He goes, and he has no idea where the ball is, and McPherson sneaks through there for about 8 yards.
This is 2nd and 3 in the reverse to Ash. The speedy Charles Ash can't make the turn on the far side. He got to the corner but couldn't turn upfield. Cut off nicely by Dan Jeremiah.
Brought down behind the line of scrimmage.
Well, if we've said it once, we've said it 4 or 5 times, that just how aggressive the secondary is on Calgary. You know, you'd be thinking they'd be dropping off with all this kind of action in the backfield, but who's up at the line of scrimmage waiting for Charles Ash on the reverse? But number 12, Jan Jeremiah, fights off the block of Williams and makes just a heck of a defensive play. You know, you kind of have to question a reverse when it's 2nd and 2 and you're trying to establish some momentum.
Yeah, they lost yards, and now it is 3rd and 6. Good punt taken by Buchanan right back at the goal line. Markers are down, and so is Buchanan. Chased down by Thomas Walton, number 62. Well, the Huskies pin them deep.
Maybe a questionable decision by Buchanan to even catch that ball. Maybe could have let it go into the end zone for the single point and get the field position, but he makes the decision to try and take it and get some yards out of it. And Calgary, as a result, will start deep in their own territory. The holding penalty really doesn't mean anything because Buchanan was about his 1 yard line anyway. But now the St. Mary's defense is in a really nice spot. And I think, you know, in the huddle, they're probably saying, hey, guys, let's think turnover right here.
Last year in the Atlantic Bowl, 5 sacks and 3 interceptions by the Huskies defense, and they haven't had many big plays today. Pressure on Kalen now, beginning at the 1.
Yeah, and I think that was a dream half for head coach Peter Canellan, that Kalen would come out and perform at that high level.
Chris Lewis finds a few yards to the outside, not many. Scott Purdue over to make the stop.
Well, if you're just joining us here at the Atlantic Bowl here in the 3rd quarter, the beginning of the 3rd quarter, the story of this game really has been the receiving of James Buchanan, 5 big catches, and Chris Lewis has chipped in with a very tidy 72 yards on the ground and a couple of touchdown passes. And John Kalen, although he's not at 50% passing, that was 149 yards, were truly effective, and the one reason why the Calgary Dinosaurs enjoy a 19-6 lead.
Far side, Buchanan makes the catch, and it'll be enough for a first down. Reno Barbetti forcing him out of bounds, but Buchanan gets the Dinosaurs out from the shadow of the goalposts.
Pretty gutsy call by John Kalen, too, but he knows Buchanan is hot. He's had the solid first half, so he goes to him on the out. And, you know, if you're Kalen, what you're thinking here is, look, we start on our own 1 yard line, and it's always a game of field position. If we can maybe get 2 or 3 first downs, that'll be great. At least we can kick it away, and we've reestablished field position. So that's his priority at this point.
Buchanan 6 for 97 on the receiving end this afternoon. And on first down, Alex Eliopoulos with the stop on Chris Lewis. Billy Robinson, the offensive coordinator, was the quarterback in 1973 when the Huskies won the Vanier Cup with a 14-6 victory. Do you remember who they beat that year?
I don't.
It was McGill. Robinson at the controls. He is the chairman of the Atlantic Bowl, and is stepping aside after this year. Good toss to David Evans, and Evans forced out, put a pretty good hit on number 27 Brian Walker as he was going out of bounds. Walker felt number 88. It was a 6'1", 210-pounder.
And John, this is what you can do when a running game is going. You flake, and the lead block, who is usually David Evans, becomes the receiver in the flat, and that's an easy catch, easy pass to complete. And hey, it's coming right at you, John. Look out.
Yeah, duck.
But all of a sudden, back-to-back first downs in a Calgary offense that started on their 1 yard line is now out to the 32, and I mean, that's solid work.
First down, Dinosaurs. Kalen looks to the far side. in the area. Ryan Williams, number 24.
Look around! No more first down! Find the ball! No more first down!
St. Mary's defense really is in uncharted waters here. Not too many times have they been picked on quite like Peter Cannellan's offense has picked on them today. He is still up top, and obviously, hey, if things are going smoothly with him up there, I don't see any reason to switch, and I'm sure that's what he's thinking as well.
He makes it to the Vanier. I wonder what perch he's going to look for inside Skydome. Second and 10, Dinosaurs. Here's some pressure on Kalen. And on the far side, the intended receiver was Ryan Williams. Later today, in fact, as soon as we wrap it up here in Halifax, we'll send you to Skydome for the 1993 Churchill Bowl, University of Toronto Blues against the Concordia Stingers for the other berth in the Vanier Cup.
Yeah, both teams coming off huge wins last week. Of course, U of T beating Western in London. And Concordia.
Was that the first time in this century? Not quite, but the first time in a long time the Blues have won there.
And Concordia defeating a highly rated Bishop's Gators team. Should be a great game. The Churchill Bowl right after the Atlantic Bowl.
Low snap. Parsons has it blocked. Here's the break the Huskies have been looking for. They can hardly miss a touchdown, and they get it. Walton with the block. Low snap, and Parsons really had no opportunity to get it away. I don't know who found the ball in the end zone, Lee.
Well, finally the fans here at Husky Stadium have something to cheer about. A low snap costs the Calgary Dinosaurs 7 points as Bruce Parsons just cannot quickly get it off. It's not his fault, but 62, Thomas Walton gets the block. Don't quite know, John, who did score the touchdown.
Yeah, it's hard to tell in there. Sagan is in the middle of the party, but I'm not so sure he got to it. The ball in the end zone was surrounded by Huskies, and I think perhaps it's Howard Benjamin, number 70. They seem to be congratulating him. Yeah, I think it's number 70. But it is the first touchdown of the afternoon for the Huskies, and all of a sudden they're right back in the Atlantic Bowl. Here was the problem as Parsons saw it.
James Cuff bounced it back to Parsons, and that allowed 62 Thomas Walton with the block, and the St. Mary's Huskies, who can beat you in so many ways, finally get on the board with their first touchdown, and they have closed the gap nicely.
There is finally something to celebrate for the St. Mary's Huskies.
Well, there he is, number 62, Thomas Walton, the defensive tackle, and he was the one that got the block. I believe number 6, Reno Barbati, with the recovery in the end zone. And after this extra point, the St. Mary's Huskies have closed the gap nicely here.
Yeah, it's 19-13. And all of a sudden, the Huskies have closed to within 6. They're crediting Howard Benjamin with the touchdown, but he had a lot of help. There were 4 Huskies surrounding the football that bounced loose on the block.
Well, let's go back one more time and have a look at the snap from the center, James Cuff, number 41, and you're going to see a dribbler here, and then all of a sudden, just let it go a little farther. Bruce Parsons has trouble fielding it. Okay, freeze it right here. Here comes 62, Thomas Walton, right up the gut. And, you know, you can't blame Bruce Parsons for this. This is not his fault. He does his best to get it off quickly, but 62, Walton, he couldn't help but block it, and then the fun starts. It's number 6, Reno Barbati, and 70, Howard Benjamin. In fact, I think they give Benjamin credit. Nevertheless, the St. Mary's Huskies can do it to you in so many ways. Defensively with interceptions, their special teams with the kick returns, and of course now with the block kick.
19-13 now. And for the first time, the Huskies are alive in this one. There's lots of time to go. 10:40 to go, third quarter.
Well, for all intents and purposes, John, Calgary has not had anything bad happen to them this afternoon. Now, this was kind of bad. They had a couple of first downs, got it out of bad territory, and now all of a sudden the block kick. We'll see how they can react and regroup from that.
Here's Chris Lewis on the return for the Dinosaurs. Nice job. He's out near the 30. And met there by David Time, number 77.
And on the other side of the coin, you have to think that the St. Mary's intensity level is going to certainly go up an octave.
25-yard return. And after the kickoff. And let's bring in Alex J.
Okay, I've got Tom Wall who made the block. Tom, tell me about it.
Coach Barter set up our block. I just took my man inside like I was supposed to. The punter fumbled the ball. I just kept going, put my arms up, and hope to God that I hit it. And we did, and we scored 6.
Like a lot of momentum.
Yeah, it's our ball. It's our ball game. We're going to take this one. Thank you.
There you've got the description from the man who made the block.
What was that? Whoa on the back of his hat. Well, momentum has shifted a little bit because a big play by the Huskies defense with Buchanan and Williams combining on the stop there to limit the gain to 1 yard.
Yeah, and this becomes a critical play for Kalen and his offense. You know, they want to quiet down this crowd in a hurry, and a first down would certainly do that.
More pressure on Kalen. He gets away. No, he doesn't. Brought down by Noah Cantor, number 79. Old Canadian in 91, Noah Cantor makes his presence felt.
Well, Noah Cantor's an all-conference all-star, probably the best prospect on this St. Mary's team, number 79. And, you know, he does the little things correctly. Here he's coming from the top, and now as Kalen ends up coming on the bootleg, Cantor has enough speed to chase him down from behind and just get a fingertip on the shoes of Kalen. And this is a huge sack. St. Mary's has the momentum. And with this sack here and tripping Kalen up, you know, it's just going to add to that because they're going to get the ball back in great field position once again.
Parsons got it away. Not deep, though. And taken on the run by Gallagher. He's at the 35. And inside. How quickly a game could change.
Well, you don't think this St. Mary's crowd's into this game now? Wow, 1913?
Yeah, they were a little sleepy in the opening half.
Well, and rightfully so. I mean, St. Mary's was in a fog, but now they are back playing, and well, you have to like the way they catch those punts on the run. They're just determined that that ball will not bounce, and boy, did they ever save their offense some yardage. Yes, sir, the crowd is into this one in a hurry.
Great place to watch a football game. Huskies Stadium in Halifax. 1st and 10, St. Mary's. Inside the 35. Sykes looking deep, looking for Ash, and Ash stumbled. He's looking for a call on cover man Robbie Schraith. Charles Ash definitely stumbled as he was breaking into the open. But whether or not it was interference, I'm not sure.
Wow, you're going to get a great look at it here. Look, the feet make contact, and I don't doubt that Ash would have caught this ball. It was just right on target, but I think Rob Schroff got away with one there. There's no question he tripped him, but the officials decided to let it go, and well, that ball from Sykes was right on target.
Sardi to the near side. This is 2nd and 10, St. Mary's. Sykes gets a big rush. He eludes it initially and is dragged down by number 34, Roger Reinson. Larry's still a little upset there. UTEC has been to the Vanier Cup on 3 occasions and never won, including last year.
No, I don't blame Larry Utek from his perspective down there. All he can see is Schroff making contact with his receiver going down, and the ball that was perfectly thrown. So for him to be upset, I think, is certainly understandable. A few wild calls out here this afternoon.
A few. I wouldn't say either team has been favored by a couple of calls. Delariva, field goal try, 41. Hit the post, but it goes through. It's turning around, folks. It hit the upright, but Mark Delariva gets credit for his 3rd of the afternoon. Have to wonder where this guy was all season long. He only got onto the roster as an active player last week. Bing, bang, 3 there. Here's the score with the Huskies back into the game at 9-6 with the Dinosaurs leading by 3. Following the game, the TSN Turning Point will be brought to you by Apple Auto Glass. Atlantic Bowl. St. Mary's Huskies have scored 10 points in a row and narrowed the gap to 3. Let's see what the Dinosaurs can do to respond. Kalen with a first down. Good play action fake. Looking deep. Has Buchanan. Oh, and a great defensive effort by Reno Barbetti. Buchanan almost in behind the cover.
Now, you know, John, sometimes you just have to say, hey, as an offensive player, the guy I'm playing against made a super play, and that's the case for Reno Barbetti. At the last second, the hand goes up, and that was a pretty good throw by Kalen, but Reno Barbetti right there to knock it away, and look who else was coming, the torpedo from the middle.
Trevor Burke, number 10. Watch here.
Now, had the ball gone into Buchanan, he was right there to dislodge it too, but there's no question. This St. Mary's defense is a little tougher here in the third quarter.
2nd and 10, Dinosaurs at the 35. And this is David Evans. Met by David Houston.
Good job, baby.
And that's the luxury that St. Mary's has. They can put 6 defensive backs in, and that time David Houston was in for some extra pass coverage, but on the counter draw to David Evans, 25 Houston was right there to make the hit. He was a starter at corner last year, but lost his job to Dwayne Provo, but now comes in as the nickelback in their scheme and makes a heck of a defensive play. And so the St. Mary's Huskies keep their momentum going. It's a quick 2 and out for the Calgary Dinosaurs.
Parsons standing back at his 25. Another low snap. He gets this one away. Gallagher fields it and stays in far side, but there was nowhere to run. Leading the tacklers upfield. Number 57.
Brought down on the 45-yard line. 1st and 10, St. Mary's.
Let's bring in Alex J.
Okay, I've got Nick Volpe with me, a former isolation director who says good things about the 2 guys in the broadcast booth. But let's talk about the game so far. Now you're the player personnel manager of the Argos. What do you see?
Well, I see a very exciting game. It looked like in the first half it was all Calgary, and now, of course, with a good break, that block punt seems to have turned the tide. And I would say that right at the moment, St. Mary's look like they're coming on strong.
Who do you like? Who are you looking for?
Well, I'm looking for the best athletes out there, and I'm quite impressed with number 79, Cantor. Made an outstanding play just a few minutes ago, and I like Bailey, Tony Bailey. He's a pure athlete, runs well, needs a lot of work, a lot of experience, but they're 2 outstanding football players.
Thanks for your time, Nick.
Thank you, Alex.
All right, Nick Volpe. Now back to John and Leif.
Well, John, my old pal Nicky there's got his work cut out for him. A team that was 3 and 13, or 3 and 15 rather. 1993, the Toronto Argonauts will certainly be looking to make a number of changes. So, Nick Volpe, their player personnel director, ace player personnel director, is down here to find some new talent.
James McPherson, a gain of 10 on the previous play. And the Huskies are right at midfield. Good play action fake. Sykes got it away. He was hit in the process. McPherson made the catch, but Brian Baker was right there to limit the gain to 6 yards.
And better late than never, the play action that I've finally been hoping for, and McPherson the fake, and then out of the backfield. Watch the hit that Roger Reinson applies to Sykes. Now, Sykes really felt that coming from the blind side, and you're totally vulnerable when you let that ball go. And thank goodness for him, he was able to get up and shake it off, but the play action results in a good, solid 6-yard gain for the Huskies. What that does more than anything else is just throw a little doubt into the defense and keep that front 7 a little more off balance than they have been.
Huskies have had outstanding field position all through the second half. Here's Sykes standing in and finding Ash. Charles Ash, he'll score. To celebrate in Halifax, a 48-yard touchdown. Charles Ash.
Well, it only took about 9 minutes, but St. Mary's has taken total control of this football game, and for a Calgary team, it's very tough to come back from this. Charles Ash allowed to get to the inside, and lots of time for David Sykes to throw and set up. I mean, that's usually a quick pass, but the offensive line allowed Sykes to wait, and finally Ash got it. With his speed, he was off and gone.
Huskies in the lead for the first time. It's 23-19. Things have turned around. second-half points for the Huskies. Make that 17 second-half points for the Huskies, but 20 in a row.
Okay, I've got Charles Ash. Charles, describe the play.
It was a 90 quick post. I did two-step, jab step, went in the middle, and it was open. It hit me. All I saw was end zone.
Tell me about the momentum.
The momentum was going. We went in the locker room with our heads down. The guys, we stick together so much. Brought ourselves up, the crowds help us get into it. Touchdown. All right.
Okay, Leaf, decode 90 quick post.
Well, it's simple. You've got Anthony Williams going to the flat. You've got the wide receiver, Charles Ash, going to the quick post. The end result was a touchdown, and it's not surprising that it was Charles Ash. During the course of the regular season, only 11 receptions, 6 of them went for touchdowns. He is the big play guy and their offense, and he just simply outruns number 7, Colin Newman, at the end. And the St. Mary's Huskies, in a matter of 9 minutes, have taken total control of this football game. And for the Calgary Dinosaurs, one of the most difficult things to overcome in sport is when you've had a big lead, you've seen it evaporate quickly, you've totally self-destructed. To try and regroup and come back is probably one of the most difficult things you can ever attempt to do.
It was 19-3 for the Dinosaurs at one stage, 19-6 at halftime, and now the Huskies have the lead at 23-19. The Dinosaur return. They try the reverse to Blair. Blair has some room to the near side. A penalty marker is down, and Blair is at the 45. Mark Prima finally putting the stop on Don Blair.
Well, John, let's just show everybody what 90 quick post looks like. And here's Charles Ash up here. What he wants to do is come right into there, and you've got the inside slide out in the front. This is the area you want to hit, but it just developed a little later, and he ends up catching it down here, and only because the offensive line for David Sykes gave him that little extra time to throw it. Sykes dodges the pass rush, and what's supposed to be about a 6-7 yard pass ends up being a 12-yarder, and then Charles Ash, of course, converts it the entire way, and pretty nice looking touchdown. There he is.
And the quarterback, David Sykes, holding on the return called against the Dinosaurs. We're forced now to begin back at the 15. Andre Williams puts the stop on Chris Lewis.
Gain of 3, 2nd and 7.
2nd and 7 now. Dinosaurs have to get out across the 31 for a first down. Kalen far side, Buchanan the catch, and that is a first down Calgary. Reno Barbetti forcing Buchanan out. 25 receptions, 470 yards for Buchanan in the season, but he's had a wonderful day today.
And they've made an adjustment in the St. Mary's secondary. Barbetti moves to the corner, and that's a solid pattern by Buchanan. What you want to do in bump and run is to work upfield as hard as you can and try and get that defensive back running, and then when you're going to run the out, of course, break it off. And technically, James Buchanan has had a super day.
14 yards on that play, 7 for 111 on the afternoon, and there's the matchup as you see it right now. Buchanan against Barbetti, and this time it is Chris Lewis. Stopped short in his tracks by Noah Cantor, number 79.
Well, it's interesting the adjustment that St. Mary's made. You know, Dwayne Provo, the youngster playing his first year of organized football, was on the corner. He really hadn't played poorly, but you know, Buchanan just made some solid catches against him. So what do they do at halftime? They make the adjustment. They bring in the veteran Houston to go to the inside halfback spot. Barbetti goes back out to the corner. And a subtle adjustment that St. Mary's has made.
A 2-yard gain makes this 2nd and 8. Dinosaurs on the 35. Kalen, play action, standing in. Buchanan can't hang on. And there was an opportunity there for the interception for Barbetti, I should say.
And Buchanan running some pretty precise pass patterns, this time working to the inside. He's got a favorable positioning with Barbetti on the outside shoulder, but this is a catch that I think Buchanan would like to have over again. Should have been able to make that one.
Barbetti had to have Had a pretty good dive there to come up with the ball after Buchanan had his hands on it. Here's Bruce Parsons. And ready on the return, it's Gallagher. Held for a moment and then forced down by several Dinosaur players. Huskies have come back to take the lead by 4. It's 23-19 at the Atlantic Bowl. Huskies Stadium included on that list, star quarterback David Sykes, who is in his 5th year of throwing footballs for the Huskies.
The way I've approached it, I can remember coming here 5 years ago, and I almost don't believe that this is my last home game. You know, win or lose, this is it. And I can remember when I first came in, the guys on the team who were the veterans then, Chris Flynn, Bill Scollard, Brian Smith, guys like that, and they just went out and they just won. They went out and did the job, and they didn't talk about it. And I think that's what I want to do for some of the younger guys. Is you know, the seniors, we talk, and hey, don't make a big deal of it. Just go out and play the best of our abilities, and we'll win the game.
That was the last scoring drive. Sykes to Charles Ash for the touchdown. I think interesting that Sykes was recruited as a kicker 5 years ago. And a little sideline story, when he was in high school at Queen Elizabeth High School here in Halifax, he was a teammate of Tyrone Williams, an ex-Western receiver, now with the Super Bowl champion Dallas Cowboys. Williams was the quarterback, and when they were way ahead, Williams would go out the wide receiver, and Sykes would come in and play quarterback and throw to Tyrone Williams. So I think that was a pretty interesting story that Larry Utek told us about yesterday.
Sykes swings it out for James McPherson, and he's out near the 50-yard line. Roger Reinson forced him out.
I guess the moral of that story is for David Sykes, it's athletically, it's been a bit of an uphill battle. Was not the starting quarterback in high school, certainly didn't come here as a highly touted quarterback, but has an opportunity in a few minutes, quarter and a half away from being the quarterback in the Vanier Cup in his final year. Quite a success story.
And the dream of the Huskies is to get there 2 years in a row. They came up short last year and would like to atone for that this year. 2nd and 3. St. Mary's, and Sykes in some difficulty. Somehow he managed to get through and should have the first down. Chris Zaharko making the stop with 2:32 to go in the 3rd quarter.
Yes, he's got it apparently.
Tense time for Larry Utek.
Well, you know things are going your way when broken play results in a first down. Sykes had no intention of running the ball himself, missed the handoff, but yet was still able to pick up a first down. So they have come full circle here in the 3rd quarter from what was a pretty dismal first half to an unbelievable 3rd quarter production-wise.
17 points in the 2nd half for the Huskies. Sykes in trouble. And things are turning around because he got away from the initial charge. And he's out near the 46. Finally stopped.
Well, John, the story of the first half was all Calgary. Offensively, they totally dominated. But in the second half, the St. Mary's Huskies finally have turned it around. 2 big plays. One, a block punt by Thomas Walton, resulted in a touchdown by number 70, Howard Benjamin. And then, of course, a touchdown reception by number 11, Charles Ash. 2 plays have turned the tide for Larry Utek's St. Mary's Huskies, and they now enjoy a 23-19 lead.
And they now face 2nd and 17 after a 7-yard loss. So Sykes drops into shotgun formation. He's back in a hurry. And almost intending that for Messam. Roger Reinson, number 34, got in front.
But at least Calgary's done something positive there. They've stopped the bleeding a little bit. They forced St. Mary's to give up the football and slowly slow down, which has been an unbelievable 3rd quarter for the Huskies. And now that Calgary has an opportunity to start trying to breathe again, they can, think about trying to get themselves back in a football game. They only trail by 4, and as disastrous as this 3rd quarter has been for them, they're not in bad shape at all.
Buchanan has trouble. Now Freider takes it. And there wasn't much running room for Freider after that. Sagan nailed a big punt for the Huskies, a 46-yarder and only a 3-yard return. Let's bring in Alex J. once more.
With me is Dr. Ken Osmond, the president of St. Mary's. More delightful third period for you, Doctor.
A lot better than the first half, that's for sure.
What do you count of all these fans? Nearly 10,000 come here every single year and very well mannered.
I think it's a great spectacle for the Maritimes. You know, it's a real maritime event, I think, for the people of Halifax particularly. And they look forward to it every year. And some people, that's the only game they go to all year.
Thank you, and congratulations on a great athletic and academic university program.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Ken Osmond, St. Mary's.
Alex Eliopoulos on the tackle. Mike Freider made the catch. And we'll see where they spotted. He's most of the way to a first down. Looks like about a yard shy.
Now, this is where Calgary, it's a real advantage to have a fifth-year player playing at quarterback that may not get rattled by the turn of events here. And he's able to, John Kalen's able to complete one to his big guy, Mike Freider, and comes up a little bit short of the first down. But, you know, only down by 4 points. They've slowly stopped the bleeding and, of course, have a chance to be right back in the thick of things.
2nd and 1, and the motion all went to the left side. John Kalen just bowled ahead for the first down. Thomas Fleet in on the tackle.
Certainly has been an interesting game to watch the ebb and flow and, you know, so many halves involved in this game.
6 seconds left, third quarter. And the third quarter has been vastly different from the opening half. First down, Calgary Dinosaurs. Ball spotted at the 32. Kalen has time, and Williams couldn't make the catch. Ryan Williams covered by David Houston.
Pass intended for number 24, Ryan Williams. Falls incomplete.
It's tough for a quarterback. Kalen couldn't have thrown a better strike to Ryan Williams, and as he turned around, the ball was perfectly on target. Couldn't come up with the play, so the Calgary Dinosaurs made all the big plays in the first half, but here in the third quarter, they just haven't been able to do so, and St. Mary's has worked their way back into this one and enjoys a nice 4-point lead.
Fourth quarter is dead ahead. The Huskies have taken control, but there's a long way to the finish at the Atlantic Bowl. For the moment, the Huskies have the lead at 23-19. The Dinosaurs have the football to begin the fourth quarter. John Kalen at the controls for Calgary. This is second down. Kalen for David Evans. And that was a little short to the intended target. So the Huskies will get the ball back. Numbers from the third quarter, 21 first downs total for the Dinosaurs compared to 8 for the Huskies. 283 to 186 in net yards. Big block punt looms large for the Huskies as they have moved into the lead.
Yeah, no question the block punt, the turning point of this game so far. I'm sure there's going to be more significant plays in the fourth quarter, but that was the one play that got St. Mary's out of their fog and certainly back into this one in a hurry.
And then there was the 48-yard touchdown toss from Sykes to Ash. Parsons had to react. Good kick. Gallagher slips as he starts his return, looking for a block. He didn't get it. 4-yard return. John Linares leading the Calgary tacklers.
Huskies on their own 37.
Gallagher lost his footing. Got one block there, needed one here, and didn't quite get it from number 22, Dwayne Provo. Huskies are first down at the 38. David Sykes with Sarty and Ash, the wide receivers. McPherson is ace running back. And James McPherson gets the call outside left, and he's halfway to a first down. Mike Nightingale, number 44, on the stop. Just nicely into the fourth quarter with 14 minutes to go. The Huskies 23, the Dinosaurs 19.
Second and 4.
This will be 2nd and 4 for the St. Mary's Huskies. Steve Sardi to the near side, number 80. Ash to the far side of the field and top of your screen. Ash gets the call. He makes the catch. It'll be a first down, St. Mary's. Out across the 50. Robbie Shroff made the stop on Charles Ash. 7-yard gain.
That's a good catch by Ash because he knows Schroth is coming and making a beeline to put the hit on him, and that's a pretty solid catch to concentrate. Know you're going to take the shot, but still hang on to it and pick up a first down. You know, the difference is really in the second half here. St. Mary's has made all the big plays, and Calgary just hasn't.
First down Huskies out across the 50 at the 51. Sykes moves back into the shotgun. Here comes the charge. Sykes got it away, and it's intercepted. Picked off by Roger Reinson, number 34. And there's the big turnover of the second half. Something the Dinosaurs were hoping for, and something that Sykes would rather forget. You see him holding his head down there. Likely a pass that shouldn't have been thrown.
Well, he's trying to run the screen here on is David Sykes, and on the left of your screen you're going to see Roger Reinson right here, and watch as the back sneaks out here. They get right in there for the screen, will clear it and let it go, but Reinson reads it totally from the beginning. Sykes drops back into the shotgun, and as they try and set up that screen to the left side, who's there on 33? Williams, but Reinson with the big turnover.
Here's the Dinosaurs first down near the 40, on target. And the coverage supplied by Trevor Burke.
How you doing, Byron, back in Calgary? What's up? It's not over yet, guys. It's not over yet.
Brian Williams made that catch. And celebrating on the sidelines, Roger Reinson, a 13-yard gain. Dinosaurs set up inside the Huskies 30.
Plays like the one Roger Reinson made will certainly get his team back into this game. As he said, it's not over yet. I believe him.
John Kalin has time and looks deep. He has a man wide open. Solid defensive effort by Brian Walker. Williams, the intended receiver. Walker read it well.
Was incomplete. Second down.
All right, just talked to Roger Reinson. He said he was looking for a block, read the block well, and ended up by getting the ball. Again, looking for momentum. Something had to happen. He said, I read the block, turned around, and got the ball.
Well, Alex, Jay, you know, Calgary was bitten so badly by the screen pass a year ago that, you know, they had to be thinking about that coming into this game, and Reinson, as a linebacker, read it perfectly and made the play.
2nd and 10. Kalin stands in and fires. The catch is made by Blair, and a heavy hit by Burke. Don Blair makes the catch. Big first down. Dinosaurs first catch for Blair in the afternoon.
They run a crossing pattern with their slot backs, and Don Blair comes over the middle, and you know, you can't be faint of heart to do this because you're coming into Trevor Burke's area, and although he puts a pretty solid hit on Blair, he comes up with the key catch. So a pretty bad third quarter for the Dinosaurs. They didn't make the big plays. All of a sudden here they're coming up with a few in the fourth quarter.
Dinosaurs trailing 23-19. It is first down Calgary, and the kid gets the call. That's Chris Lewis, number 37. Sean Marriott, number 45, with the stop for the Huskies.
Gain of 3. 2nd and 7.
Lewis with 2 touchdowns in the opening half. .11:31 to play in the final quarter of the Atlantic Bowl. The Huskies have come back to take the lead. The Dinosaurs are threatening as they line up at the 10. Kalin stumbled, barely got the pass away. Blair was the intended receiver. Some pressure from Tony Bailey, number 66.
Nice effort by Tony Bailey, but what you won't see in the stats is the fact that Kalin threw it away where nobody can catch it. Kept himself alive for a field goal attempt by Bruce Parsons, and although that won't show up in the game stats at the end, I thought that was an awfully smart play by Kalin. You see right here, no hope to complete a pass downfield, and he's thinking quickly, hey, just put it somewhere where it can't be caught. At least we get 3 points, possibly, out of the turnover and the interception by our linebacker, Roger Reinson.
Here's Bruce Parsons, lining up just outside the 15. Parsons is good, and the Dinosaurs are back within a point.
St. Mary's 23, Calgary 22.
The Sky Coach looks on. That's Peter Cannellan upstairs at Husky Stadium. And we bring you down inside once more. Fourth quarter Atlantic Bowl. It's a 1-point game. A Cup. The Huskies want to be there. So do the Dinosaurs. Only one will advance. And later today, the U of T Blues and the Concordia Stingers will fight it out for the other berth. Into the fourth quarter here. And the Churchill Bowl will follow us immediately from Halifax. What a perfect day for football here.
I don't think you could ask for a better one. November in Halifax to have temperatures above freezing, nice sunny skies, no wind, and ideal conditions for these two fine teams to perform under.
Huskies have the lead by 1 at 23-22. First and 10, St. Mary's beginning at the 35 after the Calgary field goal. McPherson stopped dead in his tracks.
John, I think to add to the perfect setting we have for this game today is to maybe have a perfect finish. A 1-point lead by St. Mary's with 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter of the Atlantic Bowl. I don't think you can ask for much more than this.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it came down to the final seconds, wouldn't it?
I kind of think it might.
Last year, a rather one-sided affair.
Give Calgary credit here. I mean, they're trailing by 1, but they have settled themselves nicely after a disastrous third quarter where they lost the lead.
Second and 10. Sykes with time to throw. And not quite for Charles Ash, who has it roll off his fingertips. Bobby Sharath was covering on number 11, Charles Ash, who had a spectacular 48-yard touchdown in the third quarter.
Yeah, I think Calgary stopped the bleeding nicely here. The last turnover they got, Roger Reinson, that resulted in 3-point field goal to draw within 1. And, you know, they've really totally taken the St. Mary's momentum away now, and it becomes a neutral football game once again.
9:57 remaining, fourth quarter at St. Mary's University. We're at Husky Stadium, and it is third down for the Huskies. Sagan standing back at his 20. Good kick. He's had a couple of big ones. Buchanan ready to return. Starting at the 35, and a big hole opens up over the middle. Buchanan down inside the 50, inside the 40. Still standing. This is brilliant. Buchanan will go all the way. I loved it. James Buchanan. And that was a great run. 74 yards on the return for the touchdown. James Buchanan putting the topping on an awfully nice afternoon.
Well, if the game stopped right now, I can tell you he's my MVP with all the catches that he has made, and now this electrifying punt return. The St. Mary's Huskies had all the momentum here in the second half, but slowly the Calgary Dinosaurs stopped them, took the crowd out of the game once again with that interception by Reinson. And now, of course, the punt return for the touchdown by Buchanan. Worth a look here. Nice block by Reinson and Isley to set Buchanan loose, but you're going to see 21, Andre Williams, miss. He's made some great tackles for St. Mary's today, but missed one right here. And that allowed Buchanan that extra time to finally get it all the way. Again, can't make the tackle. Number 17, no match for the speed of Buchanan.
This is a great, great run. We talked about big plays helping the Huskies into the Vanier Cup last year. The Dinosaurs were here and didn't get any at Husky Stadium 1 year ago. They've had a couple of big plays in the opening half, but they've had some big plays in the second half as well, coming back to take the lead. None bigger than Buchanan's touchdown run there. But you talked about Reinson's interception, too, to set up the previous 3 for Calgary.
Well, John, I think it's so interesting to watch a team go through adversity. Everything had gone Calgary's way in the first half, and then that awful third quarter. And you know, that's I mentioned it's the toughest thing in sports is to regroup in the heat of the battle when things aren't going your way. And boy, Calgary has done just a superb job in that. They will go for 2 points here.
Kalen looking to the end zone himself, and he slides safely in for 2. John Kalen, the 2-point conversion.
Well, of course, they were ahead by 5, and now the 2-pointer makes it 7. Pretty smart call by head coach Peter Cannellan. Kalen converts it. And let's go back one more time to that punt return of James Buchanan. Awfully pretty to watch.
And this is a great look at it. He got away from several tackles and ran right through one more right there as number 14, Scott Purdy, missed him. Then 57, Brady Willett missed him. And basically Matthew Finley and then Sagan couldn't catch up.
My brother Mark, he's in the hospital.
Okay. I got the man of the hour or the moment. You got a comment you want to make?
I'm really tired, and I want to get a drink of water in a minute, and I hope that's the difference. I hope we can hold on really bad.
You said you ran this touchdown for somebody.
My brother Mark in the hospital, knee surgery. Told him I get one for him. I got one for him.
One last question. You were down. You came back up. Momentum's and shifting all. The game hasn't.
Well, we couldn't get our offense going. We finally got that 3 points. Feel a lot better now. We broke that goose egg in the second half.
Great run.
Thank you.
There it is.
Yeah, I think that 3-point field goal off the interception was the key to getting them back on track, and James Buchanan told you that. 200 yards in total offense for him.
Field goal as a result of the interception got the Dinosaurs within one. Buchanan's run has given them a 7-point lead at 30-23. Here's Gallagher ready to return for the Huskies. And he is nailed by Mark Kish, number 15.
Brought down on about the 17-yard line.
So can the Huskies respond and take the lead one more time? Regular season record of 7-1. Larry Utek with 6 conference titles in the Atlantic. They have been in this game 6 of the last 7 years. Right now they're down by a touchdown. Calgary 30, St. Mary's 23. Sykes rolling to his right, has a man, and he's on target with Williams. Number 33 over the middle, stopped by Chris Penner. Anthony Williams, all-conference all-star, playing in his final season as well. The Sky coach looks on.
Yeah, what he saw was a very nice play fake by David Sykes there to McPherson on the rollout. You see 33 Williams coming from the backside, and a nice easy target for Sykes to pick out. And well, the challenge has been put forth to the St. Mary's offense. Calgary's taking the lead and up to St. Mary's to try and fight their way back into it now.
Another 1st and 10. Ash makes the catch. He's met immediately by Ravi Sharam. And they whistled that play down quickly. 8:35 to go, 4th quarter.
Still a solid call on 1st down for St. Mary's is to run Ash on that quick hitch. 3rd time he's caught the pass in this situation, and for him it's such a high percentage play because he has the ability to break that tackle and go a long way. But you know, each time number 22 Rob Schroth, who has followed Ash all over the field today, has made some pretty solid tackles.
4 receptions in the afternoon for Charles Ash, 1 for a 48-yard touchdown. 2nd and 5. Sykes stands in. He can't get away from Schmulin, number 43. Trent Schmulin, 5 sacks in the season, 1 at the Atlantic Bowl. 30-23 with 7:50 to go. The Dinosaurs are in control for now. Huskies will have to kick it away. Sagan standing back at his 10, averaging 37 yards. He's had a couple of big ones. Ryder. Stopped by number 77, Dave Time.
Brought down at the 50-yard line off the Huskies.
Well, it's time for the St. Mary's defense to get it back in a hurry for the Huskies.
Yeah, they're going to have to do it again. I mean, this is a pretty solid defense at creating the turnovers, but their work is certainly cut out for them. John Kalin with tremendous field position to start with at St. Mary's 51-yard line. And the way, for the most part, he's been able to keep St. Mary's off balance with his play selection. He can really do anything he wants right here.
1st down, Calgary. And Lewis got the call, number 37. He ran into Alex Eliopoulos, number 44.
Gain of 4.
Gain is 4 yards, 2nd and 6. Here's one for the notebook. The Huskies have not lost a playoff game at Husky Stadium since 1989.
Well, Alex Iliopoulos, number 44, Trevor Burke, number 10, and your picture right there are going to have to pick it up a notch if they are to not lose this one here today. They trail by 7.
2nd and 6. Kalen stands in and has Freider on the far side.
On the reception.
Brian Walker made the stop, number 27, fastest member of the Huskies secondary.
Freider, who's coming off a bout with pneumonia, kept him out of the big game with Alberta last week, has made some key catches for Calgary this afternoon. And I think with this reception now, John Kalen's probably thinking, hey, we're well into St. Mary's territory. We've got a 7-point lead. What I want to try now is the worst thing that ever happens to us is we bring Parsons in for a field goal and try and get that to a 10-point lead and force St. Mary's to score twice.
From the 32 on 1st down, David Evans, number 88.
Yeah, I suspect he's thinking along with me there. If David Evans is getting the ball, he does not get to touch it a great deal. But now that they are in Parsons' field goal range, I'm sure they'll be a little more conservative.
Gain of 3, 2nd and 7.
Boy, you know, you look right through those eyes, and what those eyes are telling you is, hey, we're only 6 minutes away from a trip to the big one.
Could be a long 6 minutes, though. They're in hostile territory at Husky Stadium. 22 players, 13 starters on the Dinosaurs were here 1 year ago. So Peter Canellan has made some changes. Partly because of graduation, but he has a better football team here this time around. There's no doubt about that.
Now, we talked about it earlier. What Peter Canellan said was this team is more consistent than it was a year ago, and I think that's really been in evidence this afternoon.
In 30 years of coaching football, Peter Canellan has never had a losing season.
Pretty impressive record.
It really is.
Now you look at 2nd and 7 for Calgary. I think one of the key plays that they've used in this situation is to take Kalen on the rollout and give him that option of running or throwing. And well, I think that'd be a heck of a call right here.
2nd and a bunch, 2nd and 7. Kalen to his right. Sideline pass, and it's complete with Walker defending on Mike Freider.
Pass is complete.
It's a contact problem. 15-yard gain there. No flank there, and the Rhinson should be okay. Sorry.
That's right, Bud. You go back and take a look at the previous Atlantic Bowl winners here. And of course, St. Mary's won it a year ago, defeating the Calgary Dinosaurs. But there in 91, it was Mount Allison and St. Mary's and Western St. Mary's. So 3 out of the last 5 years, the Huskies have gone home victorious, but they certainly have their work cut out for them here.
Some early movements. And penalty markers go down on the Dinosaurs' 1st down.
Illegal procedure, Calgary.
Procedure call against the Dinosaurs. 5:28 to play.
5-yard penalty.
The visiting Calgary Dinosaurs in front, 30-23. Buchanan is a pretty good story for MVP, as you were talking about just a few moments ago. The 92 yards on returns, 111 yards receiving.
Gets my vote.
I would think so. Kalen has to unload in a hurry. Pays for it. Blair makes the catch. And Blair heads toward the end zone. He stopped a yard or two short. Caught there by Brian Walker.
Knocked out of bounds on the...
And Tony Bailey got through to put a big hit on the quarterback, John Kalen, who barely got it away.
Kalen just at the last second able to release the football. Here comes Bailey, but here's Blair, and he just sneaks back over the formation, and just in the nick of time, Kalen's able to find him and get rid of it because he takes a heck of a shot from Bailey. But the Calgary Dinosaurs late in the 4th quarter now are doing all the little things right, and they are looking in pretty good shape to move on to the Vanier Cup.
1st and goal to go at the 1, and the touchdown is there for the Calgary Dinosaurs.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
4:56 to go. And quarterback Kalen, with 7 touchdowns in the regular season, has 1 more.
And John, I think you really have to admire the way this Calgary team has played through adversity here in the second half. I mean, to have a game in total control and then have it go to total disarray, be able to regroup and come back and take this crowd, number one, out of it, functional offense, and come back to take what could be a 14-point lead. I think this is just a tremendous achievement for the Calgary Dinosaurs.
Bruce Parsons adds one more to the Calgary total. And it is now 37-23 with less than 5 minutes to go.
You know, unless you've played sport yourself, I don't think you can ever appreciate how difficult it is to turn around a bad situation in a game. And it's just been a marvel to me to watch the Calgary Dinosaurs, how they work through the adversity here and now enjoy a pretty commanding lead.
The 32nd Atlantic Bowl, live from Husky Stadium on the campus of St. Mary's University in Halifax. And the Calgary Dinosaurs have regained control. Are very much in control right now. Let's bring in our pal, Alex J. Waller.
Okay, Ben Fairbrother, much bigger man than I am. Tell me about the mood and how it's changed.
Just momentum's changed. Defense has come up big, and we've been able to capitalize on what we've been practicing all year.
What are you doing differently in the last part of the game that you didn't do from quarters 2 and 3?
Just getting after them, playing hard, playing physical.
Any other changes you expect in the last couple of minutes?
Just some hard football, that's it.
Thank you.
4:56 to go. The Dinosaurs lead at 37-23.
Sorry, you know, you look at this game and what turned it around, and obviously 2 plays, the Buchanan punt return for a touchdown, and then before that it was the Roger Rhinson interception. They only got 3 points out of it, but it was probably the biggest 3 points they scored all day.
We're running out of daylight in Halifax, and the Huskies are running out of hope. Third quarter, take that away from the Calgary Dinosaurs, and really they have had a very, very fine football afternoon. 37 points on the board. Huskies owned the third quarter and got back to take the lead. But it's been all Calgary in the fourth and also in the first 2.
And much the same way as St. Mary's defeated Acadia last week in overtime, had to fight and claw their way back. I think the victory becomes almost even sweeter for Calgary to have had to fight their way back through the adversity to possibly win this game.
This is Kent Gallagher, number 73, and there was very little room far side of the field for Gallagher as he ran into John Linares.
8-yard line, 1st and 10 for the Huskies.
A few unhappy faces on the St. Mary's sidelines. Expectations so high with that unbelievable third quarter, but now the reality of what might be a loss in this Atlantic Bowl, I think, is setting in on a few of the players.
Really, David Sykes has to engineer a scoring drive right here and now. Beginning from the shotgun inside his 30-yard line. Sykes goes over the middle. The catch is made by Steve Sardi, and he's out near midfield. Grady Stevenson made the stop. 18 points unanswered by Calgary in the second half.
And certainly all is lost for St. Mary's as Steve Sardi comes up with a key catch here, a big gain almost out to midfield, and certainly with well over 4 minutes remaining, there certainly is plenty of time.
25 yards previous play, and Ash makes the catch here. He breaks a tackle. This is Charles Ash inside the 35 to about the 30.
Don't go away.
Newman on the tackle. Rhinson there too. And you're absolutely right. Hang on, folks.
Yeah, this is a heck of a catch by Charles Ash. He actually goes up in the air, takes it away from number 22, Rob Schroth, with a good catch, and with back-to-back plays by Ash and Sardi have the St. Mary's offense in good shape.
Shotgun again. Sykes standing in high this time. And Ash was the intended receiver. Sharoth was covering. Larry Utek looks on. 6 conference titles in the Atlantic Division. 4:08 facing the Huskies right now. They need a scoring play here.
Well, I mean, that's lots of time for 2 scores, no question about that. They're at the 32-yard line or so of the Calgary Dinosaurs, and there you see it. That's what's facing them, 14 points behind.
2nd and 10. Huskies just outside the Calgary 30. Play action fake. Sykes A penalty marker is down as the catch is made by Charles Ash on the sidelines in front of Colin Newman. Now the infraction back.
Well, if you're a Calgary fan, I don't like where that flag was thrown, and it's going to be a holding call. Or actually, a St. Mary's fan. Let me excuse myself there, but nice catch by Ash is going to go for naught as a holding call will come against St. Mary's and brought it back.
Let's listen in to referee John Nickel.
You know, I think
listen hard, listen very hard.
Yeah, I think if you could lip read him, he said 54, and that'd be Chris Goddard, the right guard. And tough break for Billy Robinson and his offense. They would have had the first down, but now all of a sudden it's 2nd and 20.
Shotgun again for Sykes. Here comes the charge, and Sykes is down, but a penalty goes down. Zaharko got through, but a face masking call against the Calgary Dinosaurs.
Chris Zaharko just blew by 67 Ted McLean, and as Sykes turned, he ran right into the arm of Chris Zaharko. No question, he got him up on the face mask.
So a breath of hope here for the Huskies. It won't be an automatic first down. But it's a lot better than 2nd and 20. Hang on, it is a first down. 2nd and 20 to 1st and 10 on a face masking call.
22 is still white. 22 is really still, yeah, he's still.
So Larry Utek can breathe for a second longer here. 3:32 to go. Huskies down by 2 touchdowns. Ash makes the catch. Penalty marker is down.
Pass is complete to Ash.
Sharath
Flag on the play.
on Charles Ash.
Well, they keep hoping they can get the ball to Ash quickly and let him use his speed to break a tackle, but Rob Schroth has been equal to that task every time. On every short pass that Ash has caught, Schroth has been there to wrap him up and make a heck of a good tackle.
Yeah, that play has not worked effectively for substantial yardage today. They've been able to pick up the 5 yards most every time, but he hasn't been able to break one. It's a procedure called against the Huskies, and it is 2nd and 10 now. 3:26 to go. We're in the 4th quarter of the Atlantic Bowl in Halifax. On 2nd and 10. Ash, the intended receiver. It is no catch. Colin Newman, number 7, was covering on Charles Ash.
Third down for St. Mary's.
You know, Ash has done some things pretty well today. He caught the little quick post, took it for a touchdown, but he's still not doing a lot of things well. Sometimes when he runs those little ins, he's rounding it off. He's not running full speed to try and push off that corner. In this case, Colin Newman, get him out of his back pedal, and you know, he just allowed Newman to be all over him when that ball came. Sure, it was underthrown, but technically, you know, Charles Ash has had a good game, but he still has a lot of things to work on.
6 receptions, 94 yards, and the big touchdown for the Huskies. But now the heat is on St. Mary's. 3rd down. Sykes unloads. Sardi has it taken away. It's intercepted in the end zone, picked up by Robbie Sharath. And he is wasting a little time back there. 2:46 to go. That looked to be right in the midst of Steve Sardi, but stolen at the last possible second by Robbie Sharath.
Well, a pretty interesting call on a 3rd down gamble, 3rd and 7, to go over the top and try and hit the home run. But David Sykes chooses to do so. But 22, Rob Schroth, who really has had a pretty superb game this afternoon, right there stepping in front of Sardi, makes a nice interception, and that will just about do it.
Yeah, I
St.
think
Mary's Huskies,
they're cooked. Number 1 ranked team in the nation, the St. Mary's Huskies, down by 2 touchdowns to the Calgary Dinosaurs, ranked number 3. Only 2 minutes and 46 seconds remain for Larry Utek and the Huskies. Live from Halifax, the Atlantic Bowl. Live in Halifax on the campus of St. Mary's University. And the Huskies face a tough struggle now. 2:46 to go. They're down by 2 touchdowns. And the Dinosaurs have been very effective whenever they've had the football today. So I don't think they're going to make any mistakes to give the Huskies a real opportunity to get back into this game. Dinosaurs beginning first down just inside the 10-yard line. This is Chris Lewis. Lewis hangs on and crosses the 15.
Lewis hasn't been a real factor here in the second half, but his first half totals of 72 yards rushing in one half of play really set the tone for the Calgary offense. And boy, you know, for a guy that's a fill-in, only had 2 regular season starts, you have to be impressed with the composure and the confidence that this young fellow's played with today.
26 carries and 104 yards for an 18-year-old running back. The only true freshman on the Calgary Dinosaurs team.
Boy, if you'd said to head coach Peter Cannellan before the game, we'll give your guy 102 yards, or would you be happy with that? I think he would have said a quick yes.
Yes, and the 2 touchdowns, they were pretty good runs too. 37-23.
Well, there's the head coach Peter Cannellan, and well, when he goes into the locker room after this game, I think he's going to tell the guys that, hey, I'm really proud of the way you guys came back from all that adversity this afternoon, playing in the home team's backyard with the crowd against you and a lot of things against you here, and you fought back, and you had a very, very sweet victory.
Cannellan has led the Dinosaurs to the Vanier Cup on 3 occasions, in 1983, 85, and in 88 when he beat the St. Mary's Huskies. Third and a bit, or second and a bit, I should say, and that should be a first down for the Dinosaurs. 2:33 to go.
Picks up enough for the first down.
Pretty solid season for Calgary, 5-2-1 in the Western Conference, with a 32-12 win over the University of Alberta last week to make it to the Atlantic Bowl. One more step, and it looks like one more step from here onto the Vanier Cup. Next Saturday at Skydome in Toronto against either the University of Toronto Blues or the Concordia Stingers. Dinosaurs trying to run down the clock. The pitch to Lewis. And he's to the 25. A gain of 4.
4 yards. Second and 6.
John, while we have a moment here, we're closing out this ball game. I think we should say a special thanks to our good buddy Jack Newman, who's the sports information director of the Calgary Dinosaurs, who always does a tremendous job to try and provide us with the most information he can on his players and team, and certainly he didn't let us down at all.
Yeah, I don't think there is a fact in dinosaur history that Jack doesn't have at his fingertips. And he always puts together a first-rate package of numbers.
Recognize that guy?
I think I remember him.
Yeah, Dan Wicklum, former linebacker with the Calgary Stampeders, and of course he was a coach for St. Mary's a year ago, and he is working on his PhD out at the University of Calgary. And so the first thing Peter Cannellan did when he heard Dan Wicklum was going to be there as a student, he said, hey, would you help us out too? So he will be back-to-back Atlantic Bowl victories for him.
You have to know what team to coach for.
That's the truth, isn't it?
2:08 to play, fourth quarter. Calgary Dinosaurs with a 2-touchdown lead. John Kalin in trouble. He got away, and he'll be a little happy just to run a little time off the clock. He also gets a strike out at the 30-yard line. Mike Freiter made the catch in front of Brian Walker. Freiter, we mentioned earlier, the all-time leading receiver in Dinosaur history. A minute 59 to play, fourth quarter here.
Yeah, and I've really been impressed with how technically well these receivers for Calgary run their pass patterns. Freiter came a long way back to make that catch, but you know, you look at that whole receiving core who was here a year ago. James Buchanan with an outstanding day, and then you've got the slot backs Don Blair and Ryan Williams. Don Blair made a key catch down to the 1-yard line that set up Kalin's touchdown to really put this game away. So for Peter Cannellan and his offense, the experience in that receiving core and technically how well they run their patterns, to me, has been a huge factor in this game.
19 of 37, 283. Very impressive numbers. The interception was a non-factor in the statistics, counting for John Kalin this afternoon.
You know, had the pass receptions been spread out a little more, I would say Kalin have a good shot at the MVP, but James Buchanan with the punt return for the touchdown, and his receiving totals today, to me, was truly the best player on the field.
Talked about it at the outset about the Dinosaurs this year having a much more mobile offense, and they've really shown that today with Kalin running effectively as well as throwing.
Boy, you bring up a great point. Early in the game, Kalin's running, to me, was really the key in getting that offense untracked early. And you know, it's such an advantage for a team confidence-wise to get off to a good start in the game. Calgary was able to do that.
Are you all right, Brady?
Another injured St. Mary's Husky down near the 35 with 1:38 to go. It's 37-23 for the Dinosaurs, who appear ready to head on and try and win another Vanier. They have 3 in the 80s, none in the 90s under head coach Peter Cannellan in his 11th year as head coach with an amazing winning record. 59-28-1 for Peter Cannellan. And the #1 ranked Huskies just about finished at Husky Stadium this afternoon. Al Keith, one of the assistant coaches up there in the middle of the pack. He was the head coach of the Huskies.
That's him right there. That's my buddy Al Keith. Yeah.
The head coach of the Huskies when they won in 1973 with Billy Robinson as the quarterback. Al tried to recruit you to play out here.
Tried to recruit me. I was at Northern Secondary, and Al was the head coach here. And I don't think there's any question. The GEO player of the game is James Buchanan, wide receiver for the Calgary Dinosaurs. Those are his numbers. A truly exceptional afternoon, and one of the big reasons why the Calgary Dinosaurs will move on next week and be one of the participants in the 1993 Vanier Cup.
Kalin handing off for David Evans, and he ran into Alex Iliopoulos. 1:20 to go. And I don't know when Peter Cannellan is going to consider that he has this one in the bag and head down to get ready for congratulations on the sidelines.
Well, you bring up an interesting point. You brought it up earlier in the game, actually. Where will he sit in Sky Dome if this was a successful thing for him? I guess the press box is high enough there.
I would think it is high enough. He won't have to get up into the rafters. He wouldn't want to be walking up to the catwalk. I think that's 42 stories up to the top there. And Peter has a bad Achilles, injured that, according to Jack Newman, on July the 1st this year. So he's been hobbling a little bit with an Achilles problem.
Jack knows everything, doesn't he?
Jack knows all. Buchanan to the near side. With 1:07 to go, and the Dinosaurs are that close to moving on to the Vanier. This is Blair breaking a tackle. Stopped by Iliopoulos. The ball squirted loose, and it is ruled as a fumble and a recovery by the Huskies.
Pretty interesting call with a 14-point lead on a 3rd down gamble to throw it, but Kalin decides to. They complete the pass, but with the fumble, St. Mary's will get one more shot at it. This is a pretty gutsy call here. Number 20, Don Blair, makes the catch, but as he is taken out of bounds by Iliopoulos, there you see the ball squirt loose, and who's there but number 27, Brian Walker. With
it bounced right into Walker's hands there. 57 to go, so the Huskies have one last gasp. Get to the end zone in a hurry, and maybe something good can happen. Ash makes the catch. Can't stop the clock. Colin Newman, number 7, covering with 52 seconds to play.
Of course, St. Mary's now has to really hustle, get up on the ball, run their hurry-up offense. You know what? They still have a shot. They've got to score quickly, but, you know, if you're St. Mary's, you have to keep thinking, hey, listen, we get the quick score, you never know.
Sykes at the controls. Here's Ash again. Away from one. Ash still on his feet. And racing to the sidelines. 40 seconds left on the clock, but they need 2 touchdowns to tie. The Huskies down 37-23.
And that was the play that Ash scored the 48-yarder on earlier, the quick post, and you'll see 22, Rob Schroth goes to the man in the flat. That leaves Ash open, and It's a pretty nifty running across the field. A couple of missed tackles here and there, but Charles Ash maximizes the pass completion, gets it out of bounds, stops the clock. And this St. Mary's team, you know, they're just one score away of at least trying an onside kick, and you never know. I don't like their chances, but you never know.
It's a long shot, no question about that. But when you've got hope, it's a little bit better. He's got the football. David Sykes.
Okay, I got you. All right. Hats to me don't go very well.
Oh, I think you look really good in a Geo hat.
I think maybe the hat looks better on there.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to hear from his barber now.
I'm going to hear about that. Well, I didn't mean it, James. We just want to plug the sponsor there. We want you to keep the hat on.
Yeah, I think that was really mean. You remember ever having a haircut that short?
No.
Of course, you've never had a hair out of place.
No, don't get cruel here. We've only got 40 seconds to go.
Yeah, and our football season's almost over. Well, we got the Vanier Cup to work together on next week.
That's right. We shall be there.
Dome. Larry Utek. Bill Robinson, his offensive coordinator, to Utek's left. And they were close. They came back to take the lead in the third quarter from the Dinosaurs, who dominated the opening half. But somehow Peter Connellan rallied the troops.
Rob Scott, it's the injured Calgary player.
We went down, scored another touchdown, and really set the tempo for the rest of the game. What's been the difference from last year and this year? Well, just the fact that last year we were just so happy to be here. We won in double overtime against BC. We were just ecstatic. We came out. I'd never been to Halifax. I was in awe, but wow, it was whatever. This year, you know, we came out here to play football. I've seen the city.
Well, we thought we would just listen in on an interview being done on the sidelines. That's going to appear on a television station somewhere in the Halifax area, we presume, tonight.
I thought it was interesting, though, if you could hear him, he said, last year we were just happy to be here. This year we came to the Atlantic Bowl with a much greater purpose.
Alex J. Walling had it in perspective. He said, no lobster for the Dinosaurs before this game. Sykes looking to the end zone. Sardi couldn't make the catch. It's intercepted again.
It's intercepted.
Picked off in the end zone by John Kalin. He has quarterbacked the team and now come up with an interception playing safety. We talked about Kalin playing both ways. He hasn't seen a great deal of duty on the defensive side of the ball is what I'm trying to say, but he was in for a big play there.
Yeah, I thought it very interesting in a crucial situation that they certainly didn't wait very long to put him back in there at the middle safety, and I think you saw the example of the range that he has. Sardi looked like he was going to make that touchdown catch, and from nowhere Kalin came out of there with the interception, and I guess the final nail in the coffin for the St. Mary's Huskies.
Yeah. 30 seconds to go, down by 2 touchdowns. There is no hope left for the Huskies. So the Dinosaurs have come to Husky Stadium and snuck away with a very well-deserved victory. A very impressive display for the Calgary Dinosaurs, coached by Peter Connellan this afternoon. On to the Vanier Cup next Saturday, Skydome. And who will they play? U of T or Concordia? You'll have to wait till a little later this day to find that out, but you can stay with us for Gord Miller and Jamie Bone in the second half of our university football doubleheader on TSN this afternoon.
Yeah, in about 10 minutes, that game is going to get underway, and whoever wins that game, U of T or Concordia, is going to see from this game film that they will be up against a very tenacious Calgary team, and their aggressiveness, I think, today impressed me as much as anything. They were determined to really out-hit and out-hustle the St. Mary's Huskies, and for the most part, I think they were able to do that. A lot of positive things this Calgary team did today.
The Dinosaurs did not come up with big plays last year. The Huskies did. As a result, the Huskies won the Atlantic Bowl 1 year ago. There were sacks and interceptions last year, but the big plays belong to the Dinosaurs this day. And as the clock ticks down, 18 seconds remain. The Dinosaurs have a 2-touchdown lead.
Well, I think you can look at this game. I mean, I could think of 4 big plays right off the top. The Reinson interception, the Buchanan touchdown run, Buchanan 2 long catches that were spectacular catches, and you know, those 4 plays that come to mind that really told the story of this game. So Peter Connellan will leave the perch high atop Husky Stadium here and go down and join a very happy group of Calgary Dinosaurs as he shakes hands with the other assistant coaches of the St. Mary's Huskies. And oh, you hear the cannon.
Yeah, I think it's over. I think it's over. They fired the gun in Halifax, and the Dinosaurs are the 1993 Atlantic Bowl champions. Headed next Saturday to Sky Dome in Toronto for the ultimate college showdown, the Vanier Cup.
Before we make our presentation, you got a ring. And on behalf of Gio, I hope this fits you. If not,
Dinosaurs are the 1993 Atlantic Bowl champions. Headed next Saturday to Sky Dome in Toronto for the ultimate college showdown, the Vanier Cup.
before we make our presentation, you got a ring. And on behalf of Gio, I hope this fits you. If not, I'm sure it can be tailored. Congratulations for being a player of the game. Obviously, you're delighted, but put it in your own words.
Oh, my own words. I'm delighted, very ecstatic after last season's loss. I just wanted to come out here, win the game. I wanted to play well. That's some people watching the game back home. Say hi to everybody. And it's been a dream of mine always of playing Sky Dome, and I hope that we can pull it off next year.
Basically, from last year, what has been the difference?
The difference was last year we came out. Halifax is a new city. I've never been here. Everybody was excited. We won in double overtime against BC. We didn't think, we were still ecstatic about that win. We forgot to play a football game when we came out here. This year we've all been here. We came out to win. No sightseeing, no anything. Just win the game.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
There you have the player of the game. We'll be back with the Atlantic Bowl after these messages.